on a mansion with no soul. Behind closed doors saw the mess they control. Elrond's legacy built on broken dreams, but Nora's here, tearing apart at the seams. Raised in the code, found truth on the screen. Therapy sessions where the pain's unseen. Healing from the past with stories that sting. Oh no, Nora, let that freedom ring.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Garage. Hello, good to see you all here. My goodness. Okay, guys, we tried to experiment yesterday with Prism Live Studio. I did not like. It made weird, like, there's things about it that I did like. I thought there was a little more user-friendly kind of things, but also it was very complicated. It took me forever to figure out how to like even put stuff together. And then when I thought I was going to be able to schedule a live, it literally just kind of like took me live, and that was awkward. I think I'm going to try it out though for the mobile. Because it's in the mobile platform, it is something that you can stream to multiple places at once. And I really like that. So I'm going to give it a shot on my next like vertical live. I think I'm going to give that a go. But yeah. So today, guys, today we're going to take a break from the politics. I'm editing a video right now. The reason why I delayed the start here a little bit is I'm in the middle of downloading several videos about the person that we're going to be talking about, just to make sure they don't disappear from their place of origin once we start discussing this individual. Today, we're going to be talking about money in Scientology, where it comes from, where it goes, what it's used for. Okay, this is going to be a multi-part series because the person we're talking about today is Matt Pesch. He touched a lot of that money for many, many years. And he's talked about that very cavalierly in multiple settings, in Facebook groups, in, one more to go here, in Facebook groups, in interviews that he's done online. This is not something that, in my personal opinion, watching these interviews back, listening to the tone of his voice and things like that, that he considers to be, a problem, right? So, yeah, we're going to dive into the first interview. We're going to dive into actually isn't the first one that he did online. I'm not doing this in a linear fashion. This is one that has been talked about many times. Miriam Francis at Rage Against the Dark Arts has done a couple videos on Matt, and really take a look at hers in particular, because she ties him directly to her abuse, other people's abuse. It's very, very important. But the first interview that we are going to dive into, and we're going to go over it, is the interview that he did with Jeffrey Augustine. Okay. Now, this interview is, of course, on Karen de la Carriere's channel. I don't know that Jeff has his own channel. Yes, and he is married to Amy Scobie. This is Amy Scobie's husband. She was also a former executive. And Matt mostly worked at Flag, the, the flagship land base, in Florida. Okay. Now, you may think, oh, well, he just worked in an org. That's not a big deal. So Flag is called the Mecca, the Scientology Mecca. It's also called the Mecca of Technical Perfection, for a reason. Number one, they have the largest number of Sea Org members in one single place on the planet, most of whom are not American citizens. They import their indentured servitude labor from all over the world. And you have to have, just like working at Celebrity Center or working at any of the international level, you have to have special clearances and okays to work at the Flag Land Base. It is considered the crowning jewel for Scientology, right? And this is basically Elron wanted a place to build like a Scientology city. Okay. This was his shining city on a hill shit. And picked Clearwater, Florida. You know, they're a little loosey-goosey down there with their laws about things and stuff and things. And that is when he officially moved the operations from his little flotilla of ships that he was gallivanting and treasure hunting around the world, and moved all of those operations, okay, because he had just made all these discoveries about OT and blah, 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 to that base, okay? He had also outrun several tax collectors and figured nobody was going to be, you know, looking for him in Florida. Real estate was cheap, you know, in the 70s there in Clearwater, and he bought it up. Okay. Since then, obviously, the one ship has come back to life. They bought a decrepit old ship, kind of slapped another coat of paint on it, and sailed that around the sea for several years, filled with blue asbestos until they made the Sea Org members tear that out. But that's why they have the maiden voyage of the Free Winds, right? Because the Free Winds was not part of the original flotilla, the Apollo, the Royal Scotsman, and shit. Now I can't remember the third ship's name. Somebody will tell me in the chat, I'm sure. Although all those ships were sold off because they were like decrepit AF. Okay. And that is when the Sea Organization moved ashore. And with the exception of the one ship that spent many years in dry dock and didn't go anywhere, all Sea Org members are on land. Okay. Very few Sea Org members and public Scientologists ever go aboard the Free Winds. No, the Free Winds wasn't one of the original flotilla, Stacey. That's the new ship. Yeah. So our Mousy, you want to know if Matt and Amy are still part of the Aftermath board? I believe so. Let's pull it up. I don't check their website every day. Okay, let's go to the Aftermath Foundation. Are you taking her out or you just brought her back? Okay, thank you. Charlie just went on a walk and now she's back. All right, let's go to the Meet the Board. And let me pull it up on the screen for you guys. Claire Headley is still the president. There's Christy, because as we know, Mike is now off of the board here. Mark Headley. But Christy's the secretary. Mark Headley's a board member. Ray Jeffrey. There's Amy. And there's Matt. M-A-T. His legal given name is Mark. But he went by Matt. And still goes by Matt. Right? This is Rachel Hastings' wife. And Helen Zbitnoff is also a never-in, married to a second gen. So this is a never-in here. Michelle Adair, thank you for your service. She's badass, decorated naval, awesome sauce. Nothing negative to say about her. That's Rachel Hastings' wife. Rachel makes films. She's awesome also. And then we have Amy and Matt. Ray is just a dude. He's a never-in. And then we have Mark, Christy, and Claire. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, if this is breaking news to you, Mike Rinder is off of the Aftermath board. And this is the official announcement. It says, we would like to express our deepest and sincere appreciation to Mike Rinder for his service on the board of the Aftermath Foundation since its inception in December 2017. In July of 2024, Mike took a medical leave from the board to put some much needed focus on his health. At this time, Mike has made the difficult decision to step down from the board altogether since he needs to continue to focus on his health and his family. We remain grateful for the many years Mike has dedicated to publicly exposing Scientology abuses, advocating for its many victims, and even more so for his extensive work behind the scenes. Please keep Mike and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Mike, you are a true inspiration and one of the best examples of steadfast persistence in your commitment to staying the course. The world's perception of Scientology has dramatically changed in the last decade, in no small part thanks to your tireless work. Thank you so much for all you have done to contribute to the mission of the Aftermath Foundation. We wish you good health and happiness. Kind regards, Claire. That's a lot. I'm not here to unpack this statement today. The fact that Mike is taking time off to deal with his cancer, that's great. Yeah, John Atack left. They didn't do an announcement about that. John Atack left the board. Yeah. This paragraph is a little bit of hyperbole for me. Let's be honest. Mike was on a TV show and in a movie. Congrats. I would say that and I'm going to toot my own horn for a tiny bit here, but by the way, guys, speaking of that, okay, let's talk about that. This channel that you all are watching right now, we've reached over 2 million views. So thank you for that. Thank you for the 2 million views, guys. That's fucking great. That's 2 million people that this channel's personally reached. In combination with all the other channels, we're talking hundreds of millions of people who have been reached with the message of, what Scientology really is. Oh, Jeffrey does have his own channel. Thank you, Ms. Pillow. That's correct. The Scientology Money Project. You are correct. Thank you. So, is Mike the reason why all that happened? Absolutely not. But yeah, he's done stuff to bring awareness to Scientology, and he's done stuff to demonstrate that, if you don't deprogram yourself from the Scientology, oh, my shirt is crooked. What's happening? Then, you're going to keep doing that in the now times, but yeah. So I'm proud of the 2 million. We're going to get this going even more, and in the last couple of days, I talked some politics and some people decided to unsubscribe. And that's okay. That's okay. We don't do politics on this channel as a subject matter often, because that's not what this channel is about. This channel is about Scientology. If that becomes relevant, obviously I will talk about it again. And I do have a political video that I'm working on editing. But it just as a heads up, like that's not something that I'm going to pivot to talk about on a daily basis. But yeah, it's something that I think was on everybody's mind, no matter what side of the aisle you fall on here in America or around the world, what you're concerned about. And I wanted to talk through that a bit. So here we go. So that's who's left on that board. As far as I know, the SPTV Foundation board remains unchanged, but we can check that out too. Again, this is not a website that I go to every day to look at. No, it's totally the same. It's absolutely the same. And I will show you guys. Same people. Aaron, Mike, Natalie, Zach, Jenna, George, and Reese. There you go. They are all still there doing that thing. There you go. All right. So today we are talking about this video. And we're going to dive into this. This is a very, very, very interesting video. Okay. And I get it. Everybody, guys, first of all, trolls have been out in force. I think every single streamer yesterday in particular and people gave me criticism for saying that people who were saying ridiculous stuff that wasn't even like proper English, that they were bots. That's what bots do. A bot is like run by a singular person who's running multiple personas, and they just spam chats, right? And the purpose of that, I don't know. psychological terror partially, but also, yeah. I mean, it gives me engagement. So what good? Come on over, bots, I guess. But also, my mods don't need to deal with all that shit. So. and I apologize to my mods. Yesterday was wild. I did give you guys a text today, tell you this stream was coming. So I'm trying to be better. Yeah. Yeah, Nerman, this is a good question. How many people in the U.S. believe in Hubbard's cures of Dianetics as mental health in the U.S. in 2024? Not as many as there used to be. No, I know the bots aren't interested. Yeah. No, I'm aware of that. That's why, talking to them sometimes can get them to go away because they don't actually answer questions, which is why I got very sassy in my other stream talking to people because I believe totally they were bots. A couple of them actually weren't bots. They were just, people who had a very strong opinion that was not the same as mine. And that's okay. Like, I don't have a problem with that. All right. Yeah. Every chat had a ton of trolls. It was just, that's why I'm saying it's bots. It wasn't actual people. It wasn't like everybody who's a Trump supporter was just like, today's the day to go on the internet. Like, that's not how that works. That's not how that works. All right, let's get real. Am I growing my hair out? Yes, Jen, I've been growing it out. I still have the fabulous undercut and I'm going to be keeping that, but the top is growing out. Yeah. I plan on, I want it to get down to here. So my pony is a bit longer, but I have the undercut because I get too hot and I get headaches. And I found now with this experiment that putting my hair back in a pony with the undercut doesn't put too much pressure on my head. So that makes me super happy. All right, let's get into it. Let's listen. Dear Karen, I'm going to talk about your video here. I love you. Please don't copyright strike me. All right. So we're going to put it in full screen mode here. I'm going to turn on the subtitles so you guys can follow along if you can't. All right, here we go.
Today we have back in the studio Matt Pesh. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Matt, I'm very excited to have you on because our listeners should know before the show we were talking, and Matt is going to walk us through the money operation at the Flag Land Base, Clearwater, Florida.
So this is the whole point of this convo that Jeff has with Matt. Okay. It's not like it just randomly came up in conversation. Okay. This is, the whole purpose, just to tell you guys why they did this. So here we go.
Matt, by the time somebody, a pre-clear NOT, someone shows up at the Flag Land Base, the flag base is already primed to get all their money.
This is a true statement. So before you even set foot for the first time in Clearwater, inside the Fort Harrison to check in for services, watch the operation go down here.
How does that work?
Okay, let me give you a whole overview of this. First of all, you got to realize that there are multiple registration or sales units in Clearwater, Florida.
Okay, so the registration, is the sales department. They're called registrars because they're going to register you for your services in Scientology. Okay. They're going to sign you up for all the things. They're going to work a deal. They're going to talk to their supervisor. They're going to get all the things flowing. Okay. And here we go.
At the flag base. And each of these are run separately and they each have pressure to get money from the public.
Okay. So not only is in a normal organization, like at Celebrity Center, there was one department where we had at the peak, I think 4 registrars, 4 people whose sole job was to talk to parishioners every day and get more money from them or get that parishioner to bring people in so that they could get money from that person. Okay. Now at Flag, they have separate registration divisions. Okay. We're talking hundreds of people for each type of service. Okay.
And I'll run through. Go ahead.
These are all different sales departments, if you will.
Yeah. They're not even underneath the same small church or underneath the same captain,
Okay, this is very, very important to understand because everybody's like, well, Debbie Cook, yes, she ran the Flag Service Organization. There are many different organizations under the Flag banner.
They're individual, separate entities.
Okay, and just for our listeners, for simplicity, we're going to call Flag Land Base Flag.
Okay.
And for people not familiar with Scientology, salespeople within the Church of Scientology are called regs. That's short for registrars.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for doing what I just did. Okay.
But just so our listeners know, Flag is the Flag Land Base, and regs are salespeople. And Matt, it's correct to say that they've been trained in high-pressure sales.
Oh, yeah.
And the salesperson is called Les Dane, D-A-N-E.
Yes, we are all, even recruiters, most Sea Org members, okay? Most Sea Org members, and let me pull this book up here, okay? Just so y'all can see. Okay. So, Big League Sales is the name of the book. He's going to talk about it here. Okay, you can get it on Amazon. Let's just go to that here. This is a book. Les Dane, he wrote this back, I believe, in the 50s. Okay. And because he patented, I believe, his techniques, right? Big league sales closing techniques, L. Ron just couldn't straight up steal this, right? So if you're a recruiter, if you are a salesperson of any sort, of all the different flavors, okay, you have to read this book. I read, look at used copy, guys. Used copy is $309 on Amazon. Go to a used bookstore and find this, guys. Don't fucking buy it off Amazon. That's insane. Okay, but we all had to read this. And do they have like a preview? Okay, so this is the, okay. So now you can close all of your qualified prospects on the first or second call. How? Simply follow the step-by-step techniques Les Dane spells out in this great sales book, techniques he and hundreds of other top producers are using right now to make big money day after day. Okay? The brick overcoat. How 5 key tricks can help you. The Big League Sales Go button to the close. How to find it and when to push it. The tag team close. The double team close. The empathetic narrative close. All in favor, nod your head. 3 basic musts and 4 ways to apply them to the close. A close is not always a close. 6 closing errors. The 4 basic buyer types. Okay, that's the professional buyer. Oh shit, let me remember this buyer types. The shopper. Shit, I used to know all these. Okay. Let the customer work for you. You know, like that's getting more names, FSMing, all this stuff. Big league guidelines for effective paperwork, how it helps you at the close. The close begins at the opening. 1-line big league reminders that will help you to make a better closer. Les Dane began selling when he was 9. He was 9. Later, after many years of experience in retail sales, he owned and operated an automobile business for 10 years. In the last 5 years, he's become a well-known author of sales and motivation material. He's like the first influencer, guys. Les Dane is the OG influencer. Okay, think Grant Cardone with the 10X bullshit. Les Dane did that in the 50s. Okay, he went around speaking, selling his book, doing this stuff. He is the OG influencer. He's a snake oil salesman. Coming from a long line of super salesmen, Les Dane has worked his way up the ladder of salesmanship, having sold at retail, wholesale, and manufacturing levels. He's worked with some of the top salesmen in the South, and many of the proven closing techniques in the book come from his and their actual sales closing experiences. Okay, this book, if I can get a copy of this book, we will break it down, because this book, L. Ron was obsessed with. Most things in Scientology, okay, come from this book. I know it's insane to think that, but every psychological technique comes from this book. Let me see when it was originally written. Okay, 1971, right? Which makes sense because in the 70s, what did L. Ron do? Okay, he had just wrapped up floating around the world, escaping tax evasion. Okay, coming up with magical beings being plastered to our body all over us that were shot out of, things. Okay, and started publishing that stuff and came ashore. I believe it was 1972 when the Flag Land Base was created. Okay, 1975. So it was a few years after that. Yeah. The church moved in under an alias. Did you guys know that? Yeah. That's covered on Leah's show. And I believe it's the interview that they're talking to Matt Pesh. Okay. So in 1971, there was a lot going on in America. For those of you who are too young to know about that, or don't remember, or are from another country, the end of the Vietnam War happened, and the free love movement was coming to an end. There was a lot of stuff culminating at one time. This is right before we get, the yuppie movement. Okay. Everybody remember yuppies? Does anyone remember yuppies? It was such a brief time. Gordon Gekko and the yuppie movement. Okay. But, this turned people into monsters, which then created the 80s stock market insanity. Okay. So all these things are very closely related, guys. All this trauma and everything else, it just creates butterfly effects everywhere. Yeah. All right. So let's keep going here. Oh, let me put it back up for you guys. How about if I do that?
And L. Ron Hubbard embraced Les Day, and was in the 1960s.
Right.
And he built high-pressure sales closing
So
techniques.
it wasn't the 60s. It was the 70s.
The church. So with that premise, Matt, tell us about the sales departments at Flag.
Okay, so let me explain some of the different units there so you can kind of get the overall picture. First of all, you have the Flag Service Organization, which is called FSO, which is the part of the church that delivers.
So that's the Flag Service Organization, FSO. That's where people go to get all the services. Okay. That's where I went to go train.
Scientology counseling and courses in Clearwater. Then you have Flag Crew, which is responsible for the Scientology hotels and restaurants.
Okay, that's a totally separate entity. Flag Crew. Those are the manual laborers, the waiters, the waitresses, the maids, okay, the engineers, the guys who are, doing the groundskeeping, all of that stuff, okay?
Getting money for those. Then you have the IAS, which is the International Association of Scientologists.
Totally different entity, the International Association of Scientologists. This is very important, this organization. It was formed in the 80s as a advocacy group to get Scientology's tax exemption put back into place. That was its purpose. To raise money for the war chest. Right? So they could do all these protests and do other shit to get Scientology's tax exemption put back. It should have gone away in 1993 when they achieved that goal, but it didn't.
Which collects money for what it calls its war chest, the church's like slush fund that they can use for whatever they deem is necessary to keep the church doing well.
Okay, so that's very important because the IAS, and we're going to do a dive into the IAS makes all kinds of claims to its parishioners to Scientological parishioners saying, we need money for X, Y, and Z. Very specific things usually. We're renovating an org. We're doing these other things. Move up to your next status. They created these statuses that didn't exist in the late 90s. Total ridiculous. That's why they have all these trophies and bullshit now. They never had that. The IAS was one of two things. You could buy a 1-year membership or a lifetime membership. Those were the two options that you had. Okay. For the IAS back in the day. And then in the late 90s, somebody was like, we need to get more money. So we need to give people an incentive to give us more money. And that's when they started with these weird statuses. Patron meritorious, patron with honors. Sponsor was the first one. If you donate 10 grand, you're a sponsor. Okay. So yeah.
Then you have stuff like the superpower billing. Now that they've completed that billing, they're collecting money for some kind of new event hall that's going to be built in Clearwater.
Yeah, and that would be the LRH Auditorium.
That's right.
Okay, so what's the next one?
Okay, next one would...
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. This Fakakta Auditorium they built so they didn't have to keep going to Ruth Eckert Hall. I'm like Ethkert. I don't know.
The Scientology Missions International, they call it, for short, it's...
Okay, Scientology Missions International, SMI, SMI. Okay, these are people who get rich Scientologists to license themselves and open up a brick and mortar location that can only sell certain types of services to the people around them. But it's like little tiny bits of Scientology. Okay.
SMI. It's its own little beautiful scam, which I won't cover in detail right now. We can do it at a different time. Next, you have
we'll gloss over that scam.
Translation of the tech, preservation of the tech. You have
right. There's a whole division that just works on translating L. Ron's ridiculous words into every language on the planet. Okay, that's where a lot of the foreign people come from.
Narcanon and Crimenon.
Right, Narcanon and Crimenon are there too. The whole rainbow is represented at Flag.
You have the Way to Happiness campaign.
Way to Happiness, that's another entity.
You have Books to Libraries.
Books to Libraries, another entity.
These are just a few of them. They all have their own offices. And the public, when they arrive, they have a routing form that takes them through each one of these different registration units.
Okay, so a routing form. A routing form is a checklist that you must go and do every single piece in order to start to receive the service, whatever you're there for training or getting counseling, to meet all these people who are salespeople who want your money. You have to walk this gauntlet of hardcore, like very vicious sales, okay, before you can even start the thing that you already paid for.
Believe it or not, they have to go through each one and have every one of these units sign them off as the public got briefed, and the registrars had basically a chance to introduce themselves and to go in for money at some point while the person is going to be staying at Flag.
So Matt, you have given me 9 sales departments: Flag Service Organization, Flag Crew, IES, the Superpower Building, which is now the LRH Auditorium, SMI, which is Missions International.
Right.
Then we have CST, which does translations, archival,
right.
Narcanon, the Way to Happiness, and Books for Libraries.
Right.
9. Just there.
Now, this is amazing. And by the routing form, when a person arrives at Flag, they've got to see 9 different regs for money.
Yep, and they have to see those same people on the departure routing form.
Okay, and then when you're done with whatever you came there to do, you got to run that gauntlet again. You can't just leave. There's no like, hey, I made it. Yes. All right, guys. See you. Bye. No. No.
Really, on the way out?
Yep, on the way out again.
Talk about gutting and stripping. This is mind-bending. Okay, so you go to Flag to get, say, your L's or an OT level or something.
Okay, the L's are the L rundowns, the 3 very special rundowns. And for some reason, it's L10, L11, and L12. There's no 1, 2, 3 through 10. It's just 11, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. Yeah. Or you do the, body thetan stuff.
That is paying FSO, correct?
That's right.
Now, once you run the gauntlet of the regs on the way in, what happens to you next?
Well, you got to realize that the rule is that the FSO that sells the Scientology services and Flag Crew that gets money for the hotel rooms and food, they get
Right. So they have to. You also have to pay for your hotel room, and you buy like a food. You can go to the restaurants and pay them individually, or you can charge it to your room. Like a normal hotel.
first shot at the public, and until they get their chance to take money from the public, all the other units have to kind of stand by and not take any money yet. So.
Right? Like you have to go see these 9 salespeople before you can check into your hotel room, which you've probably also prepaid for. Can you imagine going to Las Vegas? Okay. Let's just take a place, that's enormous. And you've bought a 5-night stay at the Luxor. And I'm just throwing that out there because it's the first Vegas hotel that came to my mind, not because I think it's a good hotel. And you've already bought that. Okay, you prepaid, got a deal on Expedia or some shit. And the second you walk into the Luxor, before you can walk up, there to the concierge and everybody else and just, put your bags away, get the room key, go lay down, go test out the bed. You have to talk to 9 different people who want you to make purchases to support the Luxor Hotel and its various offshoots. I would just be like, I just want all my money back. Like, I can't. This is ridiculous. But Scientologists are trained because of the routing forms that they do for everything, that this is normal and acceptable, that it is correct. You can't balk about it. You can't yell about it. You're going to go straight to ethics, and then you're not going to get to do the service you paid for. Okay?
So the sharks are kind of lined up, and FSO and Flag Crew get first bite.
Yeah.
All right? And then before that public arrives, there's a unit called a call-in unit in the FSO, and they schedule public to arrive weeks or months ahead of time.
Don't forget about the call-in guys. They're just on the phone all day calling Scientologists being like, hey, don't you want to come to Flag? Don't you want to come to Clearwater? It's pretty. We have rooms.
That's all written down. It's all logged, and the registrars get to see who's going to be arriving. And these sheets are printed out. They're called the arrival sheets. And that sheet will be taken. They'll have a little meeting. Like the registers will sit there. They'll initial which of the public are their public. If they've dealt with the public before, that's arrived before, that public is theirs forever, like no other reg in the FSO.
Correct. Not only do you get married to another Scientologist, but you are that reg's property forever. Forever. Okay, it is vicious. Okay, true story time, real quick, because this video is long and we're only 6 minutes into it. True story time. So, my mom had worked in the Guardian's office. She had also did services at the San Francisco org. Okay, and she had worked with this woman back in the 70s, Janet Meinsma. Okay, so she knew Janet. They were friends. RIP to Janet. She's no longer with us. Cancer, of course. Ooh, that burp came from the depths of my soul. I apologize. So, they had a working relationship. So in 1995, on October 12th, my father, Constantine, passed of a massive heart attack. The joke was on my mom, because October 13th, she was driving to Los Angeles to receive auditing from him for him to pay her back for the, $30,000 in back child support that my dad owed her. So then my mom was left with a conundrum. She had rented an apartment for like 2 months. She had a 2-month lease on an apartment. And now she was like, what am I going to do? So my CO, the commanding officer, Dave Pettit, found out that my mom was, of course, lost to the universe here and wasn't going to get this auditing. So he was like, you need to get her to purchase this training package, and then she can co-audit. Like if that's what she really wants to do, you need to get her to purchase this. We had like a sale going on, right? And this would have put her on full-time training at my org at Celebrity Center for a couple years, to be honest. And at the same time, I'm getting told to do this. My mom's literally across the street from CC. She is getting pulled into registrar's offices at ASHO, at the American St. Hill Organization, and being told, oh, you don't want to do class 5. Ugh. You want to be a Duke of the Auditor Elite. Just do the briefing course. We have it right here. We also have a special. So my mom ended up buying the briefing course there. Well, Janet Mindsma found out that she had bought the briefing course from Ruthie at ASHO through a fit. And she said, well, you've already gone and done it, but you must buy the books from me. Now, I also wasn't privy to that conversation. And when my boss, Dave Pettit, found out that my mom had bought the BC package, the briefing course package at ASHO, he threw quite a fit, called my mom in, screamed at her, and told her that if she didn't, make it right and buy the stuff from us, that I was in deep doo-doo. And he'd already told me I was basically going to go to the decks and all this other stuff if I didn't handle it. And my mom told him to go fuck himself. So then Dave Pettit was like, well, you got to get her to buy the books from us at least then. She's got to make up the damage. She's in liability to you. So I went across the street, talked to my mom. Hey, mom, and she was like pissed still about this conversation she had with Dave Pettit. And I was like, hey, listen, it would be really great if you could buy the book package from me. It's really not about the commission for me because I would get a commission on that. But it's really like, I don't want to go to the RPF. And she was like, I already bought them from Janet. Right. And then he wants to know who this woman is. So he calls Janet Mindsma in San Francisco to bitch her out. How dare you cross promote here in Los Angeles? Oh God, this is how vicious it is, guys. It is not like, anything that you could even imagine. When he says that is your reg for life, that's your reg for life. Okay. And even if you're not doing services at their org, they expect you to talk to them to purchase the services for another organization via them. Okay, because the registrar post, or job rather, sorry, that's a Scientology word, just flew out of my mouth, is the only job in Scientology, if you're doing that in sales, where you get a commission. Now, there's been times where the commission was there, the commission wasn't there, it was 5%, it was 10%, that they've changed that a lot of times. But that's why registrars often would have way more money than anybody else. Okay, so let's get back to this video here.
So we'll have that public. It's already owned by the registrar that was originally assigned that public, right? So then on that list, you're going to have people who have never been to flag before. They're first-time arrivals, okay? And these people, it was known when I worked there that each of those people, on an average, will pay $50,000 before they leave.
$50,000 before they leave the premises. That's the average. There's people who pay more and some who pay a little bit less. That's the average. Please hold. Listen, I got rid of you earlier. I don't want you. Yes, I want to empty the trash. Thank you. All right. Let's carry on.
That's 50,000 is an average?
Yep, an average.
Wow.
So the registrar, they want that person assigned to them in a big way, obviously.
No kidding.
And a lot of how that's divided out, who gets who, is based on which registrar per Les Dane's Big League Sales book, which one would be best to get the most money from that public who's going to be around.
Okay. Each reg has a specialty for each type of shopper. Let me see if I can find that because it's really important for you guys to understand the psychology behind that. Les Dane types of buyers. Don't let them out without paying. Correct. Oh, this lady is just doing her own thing here. Oh, she just renamed it. Listen, if somebody's got you know, a good scam, it's going to be replicated. It's going to be replicated. Let's see here. Who wrote this? Published in the art Ulf Wolf. I don't know who that is, but thank you, Ulf Wolf, for posting this on Medium. Oh, for crying in a bucket. Yes, continue as me. No, I don't want to. Can I just read the whole thing? Oh, my God. Guys, I cannot tell you. Great. I don't care. Mindfulness. We'll just go for mindfulness. I have to pick 3. Oh, for crying in a bucket. The world and cybersecurity. Okay, there we go. No, I don't want to pay for. Why do I have to pay for Medium now? This is really frustrating. No. I really wish there was just a guide to the 4 types of buyers. Anyway. Is Scribe going to show it to me, or are they going to do a whole thing too? There's 4 types of buyers. No, this is, I hate Scribed also. Anyway, I don't remember. There's the professional buyer, the shopper, and if anybody else out there read Big League Sales and can tell me, let me put that down here. Maybe that'll work better. Okay, here we go. Thank you. No. Wow, they've really changed it now. Individual buyer was one. Yeah. And they also had one in there. They had a whole chapter in there about women and like how to handle them. Many chapters in there on how to handle women. All right, let's get moving here.
In other words, Regis specialize in their particular sales pitches.
Yeah, like say a woman who's not married is going to arrive. Per Big League Sales, she's called the unattached female.
There we
she's
go.
Most likely to listen to a strong male who will kind of direct her on what.
So a woman who's not married is going to listen to a strong male because she's the unattached female.
What she should do. So a strong male type figure will be assigned to her as her reg.
That is amazing. What are the other types?
Let's see. There was the professional buyer. This kind of person, they want to know all the facts and figures. I mean, literally, they would sit there with a little adding machine and just make that tape kind of flow off the desk. This person wants to know, if they buy this many intensives and they do it this way and they do it that way and how it'll affect their taxes and can they combine this package and take this money off their account that they had already had there. And they just work this crap back and forth until this guy's like, the professional buyer, feels like he's really got the deal and he wants to buy it.
Yeah. The professional buyer.
Wow.
Let's see. Another one is the family buyer. And this is the person who is most concerned about his family, his kids, this kind of thing. So you got to sell him in a way that it makes him see that.
See how they're all him except for the unattached female? A woman could be a family buyer, but not according to Les Dane or Elron.
By paying his money out, he's going to actually improve his family and his relationships within his family.
So these are really just closing techniques.
Right, exactly. Each of the sales rooms have a listening system. And in the room off to the side.
Did you guys hear that? Each of the sales rooms have a listening system. You are being recorded while someone is trying to pitch you on whatever BS they want to sell you.
Side where the public can't see, there is the director of registration, and he's the overall salesperson. He's listening in on all these sales conversations.
So behind, like, there's a wall. His little office is hidden, and he's just got monitors up watching all of the sales go down and listening. And what's he going to do?
And if that registrar isn't doing a good job or whatever, and it looks like he's not going to get the close, there'll be somebody else that'll be sent into that room to tag on that.
Okay. If one reg isn't closing the deal, okay. Remember, boiler room, always be closing. Then they send in the cavalry to go tag team with him.
Because they don't want this guy to leave without paying the maximum amount they can get out of him.
Matt, this is crazy. This is like used car sales, or, automotive dealerships where you got the sales manager listening into the little rooms you go into.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's legal anymore in California, but it used to be that they would put, mom and dad going to buy the car, right? And the salesman would go, please wait in the room. I'm going to get the boss. Now, the boss would be listening into mom and dad talking.
Exactly.
Oh, honey, can we afford this? And then we get all the objections.
Right.
Does that go on at Flag?
Completely. And intelligence gathering on these people before they arrive on what their problems are in life, what their financial information.
See, now this is the difference between an automobile sales environment where they are like, they're just making you sweat for like 20, 30 minutes, just wanting to hear your bullshit, right? To figure out how they're going to, fix it for you. Okay. Come up with a strategery in the back room. And Scientology. They already know everything about you. They know your social. They know your mother's maiden name. They know your address, where you grew up, your first pet. They know all of your deepest, darkest thoughts, imaginary or real, because it's all recorded and written down. Okay? They already have all of that ready to go.
Is where they have money invested, if they have a big boat.
They know everything. There's no hiding money from Scientology.
Whatever, what their business is worth, maximum financial information, maximum personal information is gathered on these people. A lot of this stuff is fed in by what's called a flag, the FSM field.
Okay. So the people who are field staff members to bring people to Flag, okay, or if an organization is like, hey, we want you to go to Flag to do this service, your reg at whatever org you're at, Poughkeepsie org, is going to contact the registrars at Flag to give them the 411 on you.
Staff member is what it is, FSM. And it rounds up Scientologists and makes friends with them and says, I'm going to help get you through your services faster. And, so I'm going to be your FSM. And he puts in a sales slip to Flag saying that he gets a commission for everything this person pays when he comes to Flag. Meanwhile, he's feeding over as much information as he can to the registrars so that they can get more money out of this person so he gets a bigger commission.
In other words,
it's all one big daisy chain circle jerk of trying to get money out of a stone.
let's just say we're both Scientologists, right? And I'm Jeff. I'm your friend, Matt.
Right.
But I'm also a field staff member, so I'm going to secretly gather intelligence on how much money you have, property you own, your business, your net worth, what your buttons are.
Right, exactly.
In order to optimize my commission from Flag Land Base, I'll spy on you.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that when you arrive at Flag, they know exactly what kind of people to put in play.
You got it. And these top FSMs, the ones that do it full time, the big time guys, they'll make $500 to $1 million a year commissions.
500 to $1 million a year in commissions just because they selected. That's what it calls when you move somebody throughout the bridge. They're your selectee. And if I, sent Joe to Flag and he purchased everything, I get a commission on that. If that guy drops, $100,000, I get 10% of that. Just for sending him there. And for him writing that check.
Are you 500,000 to $1 million a year?
Yep.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah.
Matt, I'm glad you said it because this goes exactly to the heart of the matter. There are vested interests inside the Church of Scientology. There are people who have ulterior motives and they don't want the system to change.
That's for sure.
No, because then they would literally lose their income.
And these field staff members who are knocking down the big money, they don't want it to change.
Right.
If they can make even more money, they'll do it. But what does that say about the type of person who's a field staff member who will collect intelligence on their own friends and associates?
The sharks.
No kidding.
They're complete sharks.
Okay, so now once the information is fed up lines and you get to flag and you run the gauntlet of regs, I mean, that's got to really be discouraging, wanting to go to flag for spiritual advancement and then going through 9 regs or more who know exactly what to look for.
Well, here's the next thing that the person runs into that arrives. He thinks he's going to, flag is supposed to be the best technically, and they're going to,
Yes, it's the mecca of technical profession.
Study their folders and help, give them the best counseling possible that's really directed to what they need and blah, 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 right?
Correct.
But what happens very often is what they're told they need technically is dictated, if not entirely typed out, written by the registrar, based on what money that person can potentially pay. So the services are geared to get the maximum money out of that person. It has nothing to do with what they need technically.
Let's not get that twisted. So people think that they're going to go there to improve themselves, okay, to get better spiritually, to become more able to do all this stuff. It has nothing to do with what's actually going to make the person better, supposedly, allegedly. It has to do with what amount of money that person in that registrar desk can get out of that human being. And that's what gives them what's called the TE, the technical estimate. Their little program of things they're going to pay for and do.
So the so-called tech estimate is really driven by the regs.
Completely. And if somebody outside the reg area, a technical person or somebody else steps in the way or crosses the line or does something to ruin that money cycle, they will be stomped on. I mean, the registrar is the king. They own the lions of the den,
So
that's true at every org. I cannot tell you the amount of people that were sold, counseling packages who were supposed to be my student, right? They were in the middle of the training package that they had bought. They were on level 2 auditor. And all of a sudden, now they're full-time getting counseling down the hallway in a whole other place, and they have no time to do course now, right? Because they're getting auditing and they just paid for that, and that's more important now. Because none of this means anything, guys. None of it does anything except for generate money. If they can squeeze more money out of you for a potential service besides the one that they already squeezed the money out of you for, you're going to go off and do that thing, even if it's not in the right order.
case supervisor, if he or she says, well, their tech estimate's $50,000, but the person has $100,000 available, right, then the reg will make sure that the tech estimate's $100,000. Exactly. That's very cynical, and something that's important for people to know is, and this is a data point when you do data collection analysis. I'm here looking at eBay, and the books written by Les Dane, they begin at $175 and go down. These
and this is an interview, guys, from a few years back, and you can see that now it is more expensive to buy those Les Dane books.
Titles, sales closing techniques, surefire sales closing techniques, strike it rich sales prospecting. These books are still very much in demand by people who use hard sell. And so make no mistake about it, this is a hustle, a con, a way to close people. And if the tech estimate is really driven by how much money a person has, that's such bad faith. But it goes on all the time.
Yep.
Nothing in Scientology is not bad faith. There's not one thing that happens in Scientology that isn't a fucking find the lady, 3-card Monty on the street. It's all the same.
What are some of the other tricks,
all right,
techniques?
Check this out. There's a book, a log book in the registration office, and it's called the GI, or Gross Income Logbook. When a registrar gets a person to confirm or pay a certain amount of money that week, he goes right from talking to the public. As soon as the public leaves, they'll walk into the director of registration's office, who's been listening in all the time, and write into the logbook the person's name and how much they either paid or have promised to pay that week.
Okay, that book is very important because that's the one that determines whether or not you eat rice and beans for the next week.
Because there's so much competition between reg units on the property, if there's somebody who's paying a lot of money, many times they'll put a false name in there and then put the amount of money because they don't want to put the person's real name, because when the registrars go to lunch or they go to sleep at night, these other reg units will try to sneak in sometimes, get a hold of that book to see which public have a lot of money.
They're trying to snipe each other for money. Like it's never ending, guys.
So they're stealing each other's
They
prospects.
steal them, and they also trade them. Like, you got to realize some of these big, like, Charmaine, she's getting money for the superpower building, or now the new auditorium. Maybe it's close to the end of the week. She's having a bad week. It's a bit slow. She doesn't have really ideas where she's going to get some big money. She might go over to one of the big regs, like Sonia, in the flag service organization, and say, throw me a bone, basically. Give me a tip. Where can I get some money from?
Okay, so they talk to each other. Charmaine and Sonia are two of the most successful and longest standing flag regs that exist. These are two women who have brought in together hundreds of millions of dollars for that one organization.
And then they'll owe a favor, and they'll help her out another week. And they'll flip back and forth information about who they can get money from, and also like what buttons we use to close this person. How can you actually get them to pay? How did you get them to pay? And this stuff is traded back and forth between units.
Yeah. There's no secret that goes untold in Scientology. There are no secrets. None.
How do you get extra money above and beyond what they have?
Well, these regs are experts in raising credit card limits, getting bank.
Raising credit card limits. They will call without your permission all of your credit card companies because, again, they know everything about you to get your limit raised.
Loans, these kind of things. If the public's there and going, I'm all maxed out, my cards are maxed out, boy, I wish they weren't. I would do something else. So they make that mistake of saying that. The reg will take their wallet or their pocketbook or whatever, pull all their cards out.
Will physically take their wallet. Physically take their wallet. Guys, this is not.
And they will get them raised considerably. I guarantee it.
So let's say someone's going there planning on spending $50,000. They could leave having spent $150,000.
Oh, yeah.
Is that uncommon?
No. No, it's not. I mean, if somebody does all.
Somebody needs to, at some point, I would love to know the statistics about three things: the divorce rate amongst Scientologists, the bankruptcy rate amongst Scientologists, and the death by cancer rate amongst Scientologists, because all three of those things will be statistical anomalies compared to the rest of the country. That I can promise.
3Ls, they're probably going to spend about $150,000.
And that's mind-boggling. This is tax-exempt cash.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they may.
It's tax-exempt cash, baby. Tax-exempt cash.
I want to talk to anybody who's over 40.
No. I don't want this. I don't know who this guy
planning
is.
on spending $50,000. They could leave having spent $150,000.
Oh, yeah.
Is that uncommon?
No. No, it's not. I mean, if somebody does all 3Ls, they're probably going to spend about $150,000.
And that's mind-boggling. This is tax-exempt cash.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they may be on the hook to donate to some of these other groups.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That's just the cash they're getting for people to do the courses, the counseling, things like that. Then they may have to donate to other people. Uh-oh. Please hold. Oh, for crying in a bucket. It's by tomorrow. Okay. See, here's the deal, guys. Now I'm getting regged. My kid's in drama, and the drama teacher has decided to take the drama kids in 2 years to Greece. And for the reasonable price, the low price of $6,000, which I do not have for my own vacation, let alone a teenager. Like, who? Hi, where do you, what? Anyway.
They come in and they get that kind of cash. You can believe it. They will be followed around. If they have a lot of money, they'll be followed around like they're a dog in heat. I'm not even kidding. It's disgusting.
Now, we were talking about some of the tricks Reg uses. You described one trick where the Reg isn't closing the sale and then someone else comes in.
Yeah, what will happen is, say the registrar is trying to get the guy to buy some more packages of counseling. And each package, each 12.5 hours costs somewhere between $7,000 and $12,000, depending on what it is that they're buying. And so the person says, listen, there's no way I can buy any more. Just absolutely can't. The registrar spends a bunch of time and effort. The guy says, no, I can't. All right.
Yeah, because they really can't. They don't have the money. It's like these people are like, I know what's in my bank account. I know what I make per month. I know where my credit cards are. I don't have it. It doesn't exist.
So let the guy go from the office, get a hold of the director of processing, the person that's up in the technical area.
Okay. So now this is the person they're going to go see, okay, to start counseling. This is a person who's supposed to hold your eternity as a spiritual being in their hands and have that as their only focus. Okay. But watch what happens instead.
And they work this, it's like a little trick that they just use over and over again, which is basically the director of processing will take that public person and his folder and come down to the registration office. The reg already knows what's going to happen. He's ready, waiting for the guy to come, but he's pretending like he doesn't know what's going to happen.
Surprise! Oh, who's here?
And the director of processing will chew out the regs like, why is it that you will not help this person? Do you know that this person, really needs this and stuff like that, and you will not help him, and slam the folder and make a big scene, and the registrar will seem all kerfluffled and, like got in trouble, and then the director of processing will walk away and leave that public person with the registrar who looks like he's on the verge of crying or something, and then the person feels really bad that they just got their registrar in so much trouble.
Right? So it's a guilt trip about their spiritual eternity. And now they have to make the purchase.
And then they sit down and they start figuring out how they can get a second mortgage on their home or something like that. And it works over and over again, and then we'll get the money from the guy.
Boy, that is just shocking. That kind of scammy playing on their emotions.
Yeah.
In your experience, what's if the average first person's visit is $50,000, what's the average stay? How long do people stay at Flag? Do they go for 2 weeks, 4 weeks?
It depends. I would say if I was going to say an average, I would say probably 2 weeks.
Well, that's
2 weeks. 2 weeks of time. And let's see if we'll go over the, the price of the hotel rooms, these fabulous hotel rooms.
If you work for a company, that's probably your 2 week vacation.
Right.
What I could never figure out is some people I know go to Flag for 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
Yeah. Some people stay there for the whole year.
Where do you get the time? Where do you get the money?
Well, in some cases, people will call their boss and get an extension on their vacation, or in some cases, they will even wind up losing their job. Believe it or not, they will stay there so long that they will actually lose their job, and when they leave Flag, they have to go look for new employment.
People would lose their employment in pursuit of, spiritual freedom, paying hundreds of thousands of dollars. How much money does my kid need? $6,000.
Well, what do you do at Flag when you're not in session? Is there like a social scene, or what goes on there?
There used to be a social scene. Like in 70s, 80s, and, you could go to the area around the pools or outside where the people would wait to get the next session. There might be 100, 150 people,
Yeah, people would actually hang out at Flag. They had like spa treatments. They would just like hang out. It was a vibe. It was a vibe. But then
reading
what happened?
books, talking to each other, playing checkers, singing Italian songs, all kinds of. It was like a real kind of a party festival. It was.
Yeah, in the 70s, it was awesome.
It was a real happening scene. By the time I would say by 1990.
Oh, 1990, weird. That's when Miscavige had fully revamped Flag into the largest money-making scam on planet Earth.
You would be lucky, I'm not even kidding, to see 3 people sitting in the waiting area. One of the reasons being is, 1, because so less public came, but 2, because they were afraid to sit around, because if you sat around, one of these shark red units is going to grab you, literally grab you, and try to drag you to their office so that they can try to get money out of you. So
yeah, you cannot sit around at any organization, Flag being the worst, the absolute worst. But people who were on course, like full-time at CC, would literally bring a lunch and go eat it in their car because they didn't want the regs to come and talk to them in the open air cafe area while they were just trying to eat lunch so they could keep going on course.
So the public would literally hide basically in their rooms if they had to stay on board. If they had to, they didn't have a place they could stay off the property, they would try to hide out so that they weren't getting beat up for money all day.
Well, you can't blame them. You would hide in your room. Matt, there have been stories of mysterious deaths or suicides at Flag. Do you know of any?
I'll tell you one that comes to mind.
He didn't even hesitate, guys. He didn't even have to think about it.
When I got put on, was moved from being in charge of the renovations at Flag to the Captain Flag crew.
Okay, so he's now the main guy running the maids, the restaurants, the groundskeepers, the engineers, all of that for the every single building that they own. Those multiple buildings across Clearwater, he's in charge of maintaining and running them.
Which is over the hotels and restaurants. When I got put on, Flag crew owed almost $1 million to outside creditors.
Somehow, this organization that's running restaurants and everything else owed over $1 million to outside creditors. That's like food suppliers, that's everything. Dry cleaners, all that shit.
And they were in very, very, very bad financial straits. And the engineers, for instance, these guys, there was only 2 of them at the time.
Two engineers to make sure all of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, HVAC, was operational for every single physical structure that Flag had. That's like, I don't know, 50 buildings.
And they could get almost no money through to fix any kind of equipment, you know.
They couldn't, when you need to fix something, okay, let's say my light broke right here and I need a new light bulb. I have to petition, essentially, it's called a CSW, completed staff work. I have to petition the whole chain of command to give me the $30 for a new ring light. And if we don't make enough money that week because the little booklet doesn't have enough, then I don't get that $30. But in this case, we're talking about heating, ventilation, air conditioning, okay, and plumbing, and yeah, all that stuff that cannot get fixed because, you know, they won't, you know, give them the money. So the buildings were getting very run down.
Stuff like that. So they had a really, really poor scene as far as the engineering area went, like most of the organization. And they had gotten a new guy in that was an older gentleman, and he was like retired, and his family wasn't Scientology or anything like that. He just found out about Scientology, decided to join the Sea Org, and he became...
He wasn't even really a Scientologist, guys. He just found out about it. This guy.
An engineer. And he was working over in the engine room at the sandcastle, and the engineers had warned him about the fact that there was so much exhaust in that room that...
Okay, so he's working at a very specific room in the sandcastle. Okay, this engineer.
It could literally kill you. And the guy literally died from the fumes in there.
So he's working in an unsafe environment with no OSHA protections, okay, because they're too cheap to fix the shit that's actually running the buildings. He got a warning, hey, that might be bad, and then he died. Just keep listening to the crassness with which Matt tells this story.
And
that's shocking.
Yeah, I mean, it was reported as, you know, just a natural death, and it kind of went under the board.
It was a natural death. The man died of carbon monoxide poisoning. But what did they do? How did they report it? What did OSA do? They removed the guy from the scene. They probably put him in his berthing. And then just, oh no, he passed away in his sleep. So sad. So sad.
And all anybody ever knew that he really died because he was found in the engine room where he had died from carbon monoxide poisoning. And of those 2 regs, I mean, it was one of them had to go to the RPF. It was kind of one of these flaps that was all kept quiet with OSHA.
Somebody went to the RPF as punishment because of this man's death, just like 5 people went to the RPF for Stacey Moxon's suicide. Okay. And OSER, because he's you know, from the East Coast, OSER.
And stuff, but it was like somebody's responsible, somebody's head's got to roll. So I met with the 2 engineers in my office and was like, okay, who wants to go? It was really pretty straight up. Somebody has to go to the RPF.
Which one of you is going to the RPF?
Which one of you guys want to go? And Red, one of the engineers, he said he wanted to go because he had never had a chance to learn how to audit or get auditing, and he sort of said...
This guy wanted to go to the RPF because as a full-time billion-year contracted Sea Organization member, he had never done anything on the bridge. So he thought, I'll take a vacation and go to the RPF so I could get some auditing. How disgusting and sad is that?
As a way he could do that, and he went and did the RPF. But yeah, that was a death that nobody knew about.
That's just so strange that the only way a Sea Org member can learn how to audit is to go to the RPF. Mm-hmm. It's really ass backwards from the way they represent the Sea Org.
Right.
They tell you when you join the Sea Org that you're going to become OT. Every Sea Org member is guaranteed, OT8. You're supposed to become, in your little passport, you get a little passport that's like a Sea Org passport. It says in the beginning, you're supposed to become a black belt in karate. You're supposed to become a Class 8 auditor, and you're supposed to be OT8 as a Sea Org member. They expect every Sea Org member to do that. They don't provide you with the means or the time or encouragement to do those things, but they expect all three of those things to come about for every Sea Org member.
That you could go up your bridge. We were talking on a previous show about Lisa McPherson. I want to go back for that for a minute.
Okay.
One thing you mentioned was at the time of Lisa McPherson's death, you had $25 million in reserves.
Yeah.
At the time in 1997 of Lisa McPherson's death, FLAG, just one organization out of all the hundreds of separate entities of Scientology, had $25 million in reserves. They will put that money in reserves before paying crew. You will eat beans and rice so they can put money in reserves. That is the private slush fund of all Scientology orgs.
For FSO, and that was spent.
Yep.
It went upwards for legal fees. Marty Rathbun has said that it probably cost the church $100 million to defend against charges, legal matters in the Lisa McPherson death. Do you think that's
$100 million the Church of Scientology spent to defend themselves against the murder that they committed of Lisa McPherson?
accurate number?
Yeah, I think that's accurate, because besides that 25 million, man, I don't know how many millions we gave from our weekly income that came in. We just go.
So once they spent that reserves, okay, then instead of putting money in reserves, they were forking over millions of dollars to lawyers, private investigators, etc., to fight the wrongful death and other accusations that came out of Lisa McPherson. And look what happened to the crew as a result.
I mean, shit, the year that we paid the most money towards that whole legal case, the crew probably got $500 total pay that year.
I want you to let that sink in. Let me pull up my calculator because I don't even know what that means for a month. I can't do math right now because I'm so outraged. Where's my calculator? Here, I'll do it on my phone. Somebody else in the chat probably already has the number. I'm going to do it on my calculator anyway. So that's $500 divided by 12. That means that each crew member got $41.66 per month. But you forget that people are paid weekly in the Sea Org. Okay. So let's do that again. 500 divided by 52. And that means they got $9.62 per week. $9.62 per week. There were at that time, probably, I don't know, 1,500 people there. Couple thousand. I can't remember. I'd have to ask Serge because he worked there during that time. But to pay your workers under $10 a week, even when I was on the RPF, I got $11 and 67 cents. One second. I'm going to mute myself here, guys. 1 second. I messed up. All right, let's, I forgot to switch a teen's laundry. All right, let's go back to this. Play.
Not include maybe the Christmas bonus or something, but it was like week after week, it'd be no pay, quarter pay, no pay. It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
So all the money was going to legal.
Yep.
So Flag Crew, how many people are in Flag Crew?
200. There was 200 in 1986, and when I left, there was still 200.
So really, they get $500
That's
among them
just
per
Flag
year?
Crew. That's not the rest of
where so much
Flag.
money was being taken from the financial planning for the legal case. Yeah, that's how that worked out for that year. That was how bad it was.
Matt, there's several restaurants at Flag. In and around. Yeah, in and around Flag. I mean, there's different buildings at Flag. It's a complex. How often do Sea Org members need to scrounge food? I mean, I've heard
scrounge food because you're not even getting fed, guys.
About that going on. They're just starving. There's food left over from Publix.
It's different times. You have different situations. I mean, when that was happening, when the crew weren't getting paid for week after week, it was brought up, to myself from the finance office that it was coming up in the sec checks in the write-ups of staff that they were stealing food from what's called a canteen, which is like
everybody just started stealing food to survive.
a little like a little food store within the Fort Harrison for mostly for public, to get coffee or
Sure.
snacks and stuff like that, cigarettes, So you had the staff were stealing that just so they could have some food or cigarettes or whatever. And so it was one of the things we kind of we have to figure out how to get these guys some money because of the amount of stealing that goes on between them. You also have
Yeah, we got to give them money because we can't have people stealing so that they survive. Stealing shampoo so they can clean themselves. These are the things that were getting stolen from the canteen, by the way. Soap, shampoo, feminine hygiene products. Maybe a protein bar so they wouldn't fucking starve to death.
You had such a situation for years of lack of uniforms for staff, where the staff would have holes in their, have only one shirt and have a hole in it.
Holes in the shirts. Holes in people's shirts. I saw that too, even at Celebrity Center.
The elbow, and then they had to buy their own shoes, and they would go to pay less shoes and buy the plastic ones for $15 because they couldn't buy the leather ones for $100.
Yeah, you can't afford leather shoes on $9 a week.
And they have holes in the bottoms, and it was nasty. And what would happen is when you did your laundry at the staff berthing, you'd have to stay with your laundry because people would steal your uniform parts because they were so desperate to get uniform parts.
Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't just put your stuff into wash and then come back in 20 minutes when your wash was done to move it to the dryer and then come back. You had to wash your own laundry like a hawk, because if you and this other person were the same size shirt and you fucking left your shit unattended, that shirt is now mine.
If somebody went out on a project off base and they left behind uniform parts in the closet, they'd come back, those uniform parts would be gone. Because
Matt, let me jump in here. The fact that you call a uniform parts, what you're really talking about is shirts, pants, shoes. Yeah, but they're called uniform parts in the church.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting description.
And you have to get those issued to you by the Treasury Department. Okay. Okay. I don't know why that popped up all of a sudden. Google.
Mark Headley has talked about uniform parts. Specifically, he said he had 2 polyester shirts out at Gold Base in the desert.
Right.
And it was very common that he would wear holes in the elbows.
Right.
And you only have, so you basically have only one uniform at Flag. I mean, you have to wear it all week and then launder it on Saturday? Or how does that work? How many do you have, 2 uniforms?
Some people have 1, some people have 2. I mean, it's that nasty. A lot of people will come home at night and will hand wash their shirt and then hang it up, in the bathroom to drip dry and then iron it in the morning for the final, moisture in it. And then that's it. They wear that and they do that day in, day out because they only have 1 shirt.
I mean, but don't some Sea Org members, let's say if they're really fatigued and they literally fall asleep in their uniform, I mean, are some Sea Org members, they have body odor?
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine you would develop some hygiene problems if you couldn't hand wash 1 uniform every day.
Yeah. I mean, especially having problems with their feet because they're wearing plastic shoes.
Okay, true story time, guys. My feet were a fucking disaster in the Sea organization. It was something that I had a lot of shame and upset around, that my feet smelled so bad. I had athlete's foot everywhere, to the point where my toes were swelling and I was in excruciating pain just walking. Okay. And there was no solution for it. I couldn't afford to keep buying shoes. I couldn't afford to keep buying these fakakta stockings that we were supposed to wear. And it turned into a foot disaster that still haunts me to this day. That still haunts me to this day to think of how horrifically bad my feet were at that time. I have a lot of trauma associated with that. This is probably why I'm obsessed with shoes now. And if my feet or my shoes get to a certain condition now, I throw them away and I buy new shoes because I know what's going to happen to my feet. I buy new socks constantly. My wife is like, those socks are fine. I'm like, they are not. They are going to start cooking my feet and making them disgust. And so I must have new socks. Yeah. Yeah. It's bad. I remember being on training at Flag and my pantyhose got a run and COB was coming to the base. And so I got sent out of the course room to go to the one stoppy shoppy and buy pantyhose. I didn't have any money. I had to beg money off my friends to go buy new pantyhose at the one stoppy shoppy. Yeah. Fucking pantyhose. I hate pantyhose. Don't get me started. I know, guys, I don't have a way to play this. Maybe if I do this and then we can here's what we'll do. So
18 hours a day in Florida. I mean, you're gonna have fungus growing on your feet for sure.
And if that developed, was there a medical handling, or what do you do when you develop, say, toenail fungus or foot fungus? I mean, and you don't have any money?
You don't do nothing.
You just suffer through it.
There's nobody's gonna do anything for you. That's your own problem. You gotta sort it out.
How do Sea Org members live at Flag? Are they in cramped berthing, like at pack base?
Yeah, probably not as bad as pack base, but it's cramped. You're gonna have like a normal dorm will probably have 8 guys sleeping in. You're gonna have like a normal dorm will probably have 8 guys sleeping in. One kind of over.
8 guys in one room. That's normal. Normal dorm. Normal.
Size room or something. And here's the other problem: you get married and you can wait 6 months to a year to get a space to move into with your wife.
6 months to a year, guys. You just got married. You don't get the famous 2D second dynamic room. So you get married, and then you have to wait a whole year to have a room to be with your spouse in. Mm-hmm.
So you continue to live in men's dorm, and she lives in a woman's dorm, and for 6 months or even a year, waiting for a room to open up at Flag when I was there.
Why is it so hard to give a married couple their own room? Is it just lack of rooms?
Yeah, lack of rooms.
The church itself owns a lot of buildings in Clearwater.
Mm-hmm.
They don't own an enormous amount of property, and I'm surprised they would be short on rooms for their own Sea Org.
Yeah, well, you got out-of-work trainees. Sometimes you got 500 to 700 of those, and they're going to fill up a lot of those miscellaneous rooms in hotels. Plus, you got a certain amount of those rooms need to stay open for public, and so then you're kind of limit yourself to mostly at the hacienda. Now I guess they got a separate.
Yep, the hacienda, which is where I stayed for trainees. So we were hogging all the rooms.
Property they've opened up since I left, but and there's only so many rooms, and the more people get married, then dorms turn into single rooms.
Yeah, bummer. Ew, 2 people in one room. What a waste.
Oh, you make a good point. With 500 to 700 out-of-org trainees, that would tend to put a big demand on these 500 to 700 out-of-org trainees. They're going to be trained and then go to orgs to make money.
Yep.
What's the attrition rate at Flag in terms of people blowing or leaving? Is that as big of a problem as it is at pack base?
How big of a problem is it for people to run away in Clearwater?
No, I don't think it was. I think a lot of times what would happen is what I saw from my perspective is a lot of these guys they would think they would come in to train for a few months, maybe 3 to 6 months, and that would turn into 3 to 6 years. And by the time they got sent back, after being used to working at Flag, where there's a big team and a lot of activity, they return to their Seattle or St. Louis or wherever they came from, where there's 10 full-time staff and the place is a snooze, and they're getting almost no pay, and these people would be forced basically to leave staff to survive. And
yeah, because while you're on training, okay, your org has to pay you. Flag will keep track of that. If you're not getting paid, Flag is going to call up your commanding officer, your executive director, and be like, what the fuck? Because they also want money for your room that you're staying in and for your food that they are feeding you. This is another money-making opportunity. That's why Matt loved the out-of-org trainees like me, right? Because he's getting cash money.
And so, you think that you put all these trainees out there that's going to expand Scientology, and what you find is they're the same size they always were because those people don't stick there. They get trained but walk out the door just to survive, to have some kind of money, to have some kind of life. And so then they've got the same program just run over and over and over again, and still you don't see Scientology growing.
No, and that shows that the church's horrific pay system, when they're going to pay you little or nothing, it defeats the purpose of training 500 or 700 people if a lot of them are going to leave when they go back home.
Right.
And see, this is part of the irrationality of church finance policy. Because really, a corporation would invest in training to retain people long term.
Right.
So it's kind of
What? People invest in retention? Never. Guys, Sea Org pay hasn't changed since the inception of the Sea Organization in the 60s.
it's kind of a pointless exercise, but it does look good in the magazine to show all these out-of-org trainees, I guess.
Exactly. It looks
PR purpose.
Guys, my feet are good now. I promise. I shower daily. Deodorant, perfume, the whole shebang. Clean socks. Don't worry.
Yeah, and then the big whales, the guys with the big money, when they're at Flag and they go to the graduation on Friday night and they see all these people going up there getting their certificates and, all these students and stuff, it makes it look like it's active, there's something happening. And really, there's nothing happening. It's just smoke and mirrors again.
Would you say that in that respect of the way they work their money, Scientology is futile? I mean, is there a futility in the Church of Scientology?
Is there a futility in the Church of Scientology? This is very important.
Does it wind up? Well, what I mean is it seems like an exercise in futility to begin with the premise that we're going to pay you as little as possible, demand as much work as we can, 16, 18 hours a day.
Right. I mean, something I saw right from the beginning when I got in and went throughout is they're always working like it's a sprint. It's a short little.
Everything is the most important thing you've ever done in Scientology. You're doing it, like he's saying, a short little sprint in these increments. You're trying to get your statistic up from Tuesday on Wednesday. So you're focused on these teeny tiny amounts of time, and you're never not focused on the next thing.
Little race, you know what I mean? They'll try to suck every hour out of and every ounce out of something.
he didn't ban deodorant, Stacy. Let's be clear. You cannot have scented products when you're a Sea Org member. What's up, Danny? So everybody, you know, would have deodorant on, but it was mostly like the Tom's main shit or those crystal deodorants that were total scams, total bullshit. And the only scent you could have was cedar or what was the other one? I can't remember, but cedar was an acceptable scent. You could not have anything rose scented because it reminded Elron of his grandma. No floral scents allowed. Oh, poor personal hygiene talk. Yeah, that is. I've had to do that as a supervisor in areas and be like, we need you to wear deodorant. We had a guy once in my office who, like, literally, I swear to God, he fucking didn't shower and he smelled like barf and shit. And I sat near him and I told my manager, I was like, I'm not doing that. He is disgusting and I'm going to throw up if I have to keep sitting next to him. And he really wasn't bathing and stuff. And then, like, he went, oh yeah, this guy. He had a lot of very weird personal problems that he used to just like use as excuses for coming in late and all this stuff. And yeah.
Somebody, and they're not thinking of it as a long-term endeavor, you know, where, like, you know, in Treasury, these little folders that were kept on each person that had ratted out a loan, you know, they call freeloaders because now they're supposed to owe the org money because they took a couple of courses before they took off.
Freeloaders. I'm a freeloader. So fully understand this, guys. You sign a billion-year contract of indentured servitude. You work 10 to sometimes 18 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. If you're lucky, you get some time off every once in a while. Okay. But that's very rare. Okay. So on average, you're working, like, at the low end, you're working 70 hours a week or like up to 100 hours a week that you're working. Okay. Then you do training for the job that you're doing there. Okay. Let's say you don't even do anything extra. Okay. You don't enhance yourself in any way. You don't go up the bridge. You don't do the OT levels so that you're a superpower person. You don't do anything. You just do the training that you need to do the job that they hired you for. So in my case, I got sent to Florida to train full time to become a word clearer. Now, little did we know during the golden age of tech evolution that the course that we did was total bullshit and was made up and wasn't actually certifying us in that job, because all of our certificates said flag special course room, either supervisor or word clearer. Okay. That's a whole other talk for another time. Then when we came home, we found out we had to do all these other courses to become an actual word clearer or supervisor, which meant if you hadn't finished pro TRs, you had to finish that, pro upper indoc TRs, the metering course, the pro supervisor or pro word clearer course, and then that internship. Okay. And if you were a specialized supervisor, like a key to life or life orientation course supervisor, you had to also do those courses, because that is the one course in Scientology that you have to have done in order to supervise it. Okay. So during my time in the Sea organization, I became what's known as a professor, which means that because I was clear, I skipped the SURFAC handling. I was fast flow. I was a pro soup and a pro word clearer, fully interned, and I had done the Key to Life and Life Orientation course. Okay, which makes me like an expert in Scientology technology and teaching it. A professor. I did a couple other things also while I was at Celebrity Center. When I left, I had a $35,000 freeloader debt, because they make you sign a little pledge every time you do a course as an indentured servant. I promise to pay in case of contract breakage. So whatever the course costs, you just sign this paper because you're like, of course, I'm not leaving the Sea Org. And then they tell you, oh, you owe us all this money. People like Serge, as an example, who did a lot of auditor training, their bills, and I had a separate bill to flag. They were trying to come after me for like another 20 grand or something, some bullshit. That, you know, if you do all of that training, if you're like a class 12 auditor, you're going to owe $250,000 and they're going to collect it from you. You will not be able to do any further Scientology after you leave the Sea organization until you pay every single penny on that freeloader debt. Now, every once in a while you can negotiate. Let's say like me, you know, that $35,000 and it's Thursday before 2 and they really, you know, need to make some money. So they'll be like, hey, listen, if you pay us $5,000 cash, we will erase your whole freeloader debt just for $5,000. And a lot of people did that. They got the deals and they, you know, they wheeled and dealed it. Freeloader debt, correct, Stacy, it is not a legal debt. It is not a legal debt. No one, if you're watching here and you've run from the Sea organization or you're a former Sea Org member who's been paying on your freeloader debt, that is not legally enforceable. No one can punish you by law for not paying your freeloader debt. Do not pay it. Do not give them one more penny. You already gave them all your time, which is worth a fuck ton more than they paid you. Do not pay your freeloader debt. Do not. All right, let's get through this thing here because we got some more salacious stuff coming up. Bing.
I mean, there were thousands of these things, thousands of them. And I would look at them and go, man, can you imagine if only even 1% of those people had actually stayed in the Sea Org, how we'd have no problems with personnel and what we could do with just 1% of all those people that came through the front door and went out the back door?
If only 1% of people who joined the Sea Org stayed, there would be no shortage of personnel. I really want you guys to get that through your mind because there are more ex-Sea organization members on planet Earth than anything else to do with Scientology.
And they come in the front, go out the back because of the conditions that are there, mainly, you know. It's made it almost impossible for somebody to actually stay there long term.
Matt, that's a very revealing comment. You have thousands of files for freeloader bills.
Right.
And these are just really people who began with good intentions to help the Church of Scientology, or, you know, they had noble aspirations.
Right.
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. They want to help. And they wind up leaving with a freeloader bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you never, it's part of Lestain. Don't let them leave without paying. Don't let them leave without paying.
So not only does it hurt the Church of Scientology to recruit for the Sea Org in long term, but to your point, they're losing a lot of talent because they won't pay talent.
Right.
Because there's always a crisis or a phony emergency.
Right.
And people leave the Sea Org because of brutal treatment, no pay, sleep deprivation.
That's right.
So why doesn't the Church of Scientology change its operating basis?
I don't know. I can never figure it out, really. And it just...
You want to know why? That's a stupid answer, Matt. Because you cannot change anything that the magical wizard L. Ron Hubbard laid down as law. So he said, these are the conditions. Those are the conditions. There's even points, like, for example, being on the RPF. There's even an edict about the condition of where you sleep. And Elron makes a point to say, no feather beds. No feather beds. Like, because you can't have comfort when you're rehabilitating yourself because you're evil. You don't deserve comfort. I will never forget the day that Prudence Tweedy arrived from Gold. Okay, she was at the, you know, the secret posh base in Hemet. And all, like, we just had an influx of about like 120 people overnight. Literally, we woke up and there was 120 new people on the RPF with us because they closed the RPF at the international base where Dave, Miscavige works because he didn't want to look at gross people anymore. So Prudence Tweedy arrives and she has a literal feather bed topper to put on her mattress. And I was like, bitch, that's off policy. They threw it away. They threw away her feather bed topper. I mean, it's like the same reason why people clean with newspapers and water to clean windows, because Elron said so. He did that before Windex was invented, but we can't use Windex because that has a scent. Got to use the newspaper. So why has pay never increased? Because Elron said it was $50 a week, and that's enough. like inflation, economic changes, nothing. You cannot change any policy that L. Ron wrote. Period.
It's kind of, that's why you asked me the other day whether I thought the church would ever change, whatever. And it's kind of, I don't know. It's like the March of the Wooden Soldiers. It's like also robotic. It's plugged in and it goes that way, and it doesn't seem to have a mind to be able to change the way it goes. When X happens, Y gets done, and it's just over and over and over again, and it's ridiculous.
Matt, what's interesting to me, in the 1990s, the Church of Scientology, and this was David Miscavige and Kurt Weiland,
right.
They hired the PR giant Hill and Knowlton.
Right.
And
you're hearing that correctly. They hired a PR firm.
Basically, they said to Hill and Knowlton, help us with our bad PR. Mm-hmm. So Hill and Knowlton said, well, one thing you could consider is changing what people don't like about you.
Right.
maybe you might want to change up the whole indentured servitude thing. That might be, shake it up a little bit.
That is, disconnection, fair game, spying, harassment, freeloader bills, breaking up families. Why don't you actually try?
Why don't you try not being a cult?
By changing the way you are. And the church could not even listen to a PR giant.
Right.
And this is stunning, because when you say it's like the March of the Wooden Soldiers, they can't change because the system doesn't allow them to change.
Right.
This is just a pure exercise in imagination, if you will, engage me in this. Yeah. If you suddenly found yourself in charge of the Church of Scientology, what are the few things you would do?
What would Matt Pesch do if he was David Miscavige?
Change it.
I mean, the first thing you have to do is you'd have to really have an open talk with the public and the staff, and kind of lay everything on the line and just point out that there was some things that were done that, like any organization would do if it found itself in that kind of situation. The companies will come forward and say, you know what, we made a mistake. Shit happens, but we've looked at it and we're going to change it. And you just take responsibility for it, and people will accept that. And as long as you do make the changes, things go fine. You can start new. You can fix things up. It's only when you say, you're a car salesman, a car company, and you sell cars that the wheels fall off, and people say, hey man, my wheel fell off, and you say, no.
Can you imagine a car company and all the wheels always fall off?
No, it didn't. That car wasn't.
There you go. No, it didn't.
Made by us. We never saw that car before.
That wasn't made by us. We never saw that car before. Exactly. This is exactly.
This kind of stuff happens. There's no way you can correct your company. You could keep, a repute with your public if you will not, first of all, just be honest with them and be honest. If you make a mistake, fine. You made a mistake. Fix it.
Yeah, and that's something Jason Begay.
No, there's no fixing anything. The problem is you. Oh, you didn't get any gains from Scientology? You must be an SP. Oh, you lost your house because you couldn't make the new mortgage payment that we made you take out to do services? You're an SP. Oh, your marriage broke up because your wife doesn't want your kids to do Scientology? She's an SP.
He said in his video, he was very morally outraged, and rightly so, that they said arbitrary is canceled, and instead of free auditing, they wanted you to pay a lot more money because they canceled their own arbitraries.
Yeah, L. Ron canceled a lot of stuff in his old age. Because he was, he went a little cuckoo, he forgot about, that he was making all this money, and then that was the whole point, right? My grandmother did the same thing. She spent like all the money that could have gone to my mom on like ridiculous furniture that was like hand embroidered and stuff. Like just, people do that when they start getting very, very old and they've lost their mind, and it's just, they become addled, the brain atrophy and things like that. Yeah.
So, and I got to tell you, Jason Begay just knocked it out of the park. He really stood and delivered at a time when it was a lot more dangerous to do so. And when he roared, show me a motherfucking clear, he really threw down the gauntlet.
He did.
What did you think when Jason came out?
Jason was amazing. And we'll go over his interviews at another time. Jason Begay coming out and laying bare the Scientology con was fucking amazing.
Lauding him, I was like, right on, it's so true. Read Dynamics, see what it says, you can handle and all this stuff. It gives you a perfect mind, perfect memory, it won't get sick, blah, 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 blah. Where have you ever seen it? I mean, I worked in New York with people that came in brand new, didn't know Scientology from a hole in the wall, and people that were top of the top, had been in there for 40 years and had done every course and everything imaginable. And really, you couldn't tell one from the other in most cases. In many
That's an important distinction. So he saw people who, brand new people off the street, okay, who don't have any of these super abilities, and people who had been in Scientology since the very beginning, and their abilities were the same as the brand new person. Because Scientology does nothing.
In many cases, the new guy was more competent and more sane than the other guy. So it was like...
And the new guy was more sane and more competent than the guy who'd been in for decades.
What are you talking about?
That is a remarkable statement coming from you, Matt. That really, it's very, very interesting. Because when people get entrenched in a bureaucracy, many times they get worse.
Right.
Because they just kind of tamely submit to the fact of oppression. I'm here and there's nothing I'm going to do about it, and this is what the book says.
Right.
I'm here, and there's nothing that I'm going to do about it because that's what the book says.
And the Sea Org, like many other bureaucracies, but probably the Sea Org is worse, tends to crush innovation and bright new thinking.
Right.
How far did you go up on your bridge?
No,
in your science?
I did just about everything you could do. I went OT7. I audited others on everything except for the L's. Pretty much that flag delivers.
So Matt did everything. He wasn't just a guy running around a grunt in the Sea Org.
Did all the administration, training, it's called the OC, FEBC. I did that. I did most of the St. Hill special briefing course. I did all the mission training, for how to go and get projects done. I did the free winds training for officers.
He did everything, guys. Everything.
And if you could do it, I pretty much did all their courses and training, believe me. Kind of chasing the carrot in all these different ways, hoping that there's going to be, what's been promoted or promised. And I chased those carrots all the way to the end, and I know what they are and what they aren't from my perspective. And, there's good things about it, but it's not what it's...
Did Matt just say there's good things about it? He's still a believer, guys. At this point on this interview, that's literally from 2014, Matt Pesh is stating there's good things about it. When he just said earlier that the new guy who hadn't done any Scientology is oftentimes more sane and more competent than somebody who did it for decades like him. He's still hanging on to those wins, guys, 10 years ago.
It's sold as. It's not what's promised.
How would you characterize Scientology based on your vast years of experience?
I think there are definitely things within it that can help an individual, and I think if Scientology would just say what it can and can't do, it can help somebody who has an upset in life. It can help reduce that upset for the person. True, it can do that. It can help a person who's having difficulty with a relationship, maybe improve that relationship. Good.
No, absolutely not.
Good, but what's that stuff worth? It's only worth a certain amount. They try to get the big bucks and say, we're going to make it so you can go outside your body and, have full control over matter, energy, space, and time.
That's what they do tell you. You can exteriorize at will, and you'll have full control over matter, energy, space, and time. I mean, that sounds pretty cool.
You will remember all your past lives. You will, be able to walk down the street without touching the floor. You can go exterior from your body and go to a library and read a book. I mean, all these crazy things.
Who wants to go exterior from their body and then go to the library and read a book?
To put the stuff in the magazines, and it's just bullshit. There's nothing like that. There is nothing, the only people have ever stated something like that, if you know the person, they are insane. And
yeah, there are plenty of Scientologists right now that would swear on a stack of Bibles that they have gone exterior to the universe and seen everything.
They are loony, and it has nothing to do with Scientology. So,
yeah,
it can do things to help people. But they don't say that. They don't say, I got a car that can help you get to work fast. They'll say, I got a car that can take you to planet Pluto, and jump light years ahead. Whatever. They'll just put it out of the zone and then try to take, instead of selling it for $100, sell it for $100,000. And it's, and if you don't like it, then you get your money back. We're going to declare you and get the hell out of town. That's bullshit. It ain't going to work.
That is breathtaking what you're saying, and certainly it is true that hyperbole, exaggeration, is at the heart of Scientology. It's a marketing-driven. And what's happening, the hyperbole, the hype, the false promises are breaking down. Look, I've been a critic a long time, and I've watched the drift, the pattern, due to lawsuits, exposure, challenges.
Yeah, just for edification, Jeff is married to Karen de la Carriere, but he was never in Scientology. People like to confuse that a lot. He was never a Scientologist.
Scientology keeps having to move the goalposts. One of the most significant drifts I've seen in it backing down, well, two actually. Many years ago, due to pressure from critics, the church stopped presenting the phony L. Ron Hubbard World War II record as a war hero.
Critics for years were talking about the fact that L. Ron was not a war hero, that he went to the mental hospital, that he didn't have all these injuries that he cured himself with using the Dianetics techniques that he was developing. All of that was bullshit. And what changed? The Freedom of Information Act. We could FOIA that shit and put it in the public domain, and Scientology had to eat shit.
And see, this is what I don't get, Matt. L. Ron Hubbard lied when he didn't need to.
Right.
It was enough of an honor for any man or woman to have said, I served my country in World War II.
Right.
That's all he had to say. Correct. I'm a fucking veteran.
That was enough of an honor. I served my country. And I don't care what side you were on. The point is you served.
Right.
And Hubbard had to make himself a war hero.
Yep.
Medals that didn't exist.
Yep.
That's to his discredit. And for people who idolize L. Ron Hubbard, they have to really look at both sides of the man, bad and good.
You have to go to the... I dare people who are not somewhere on the SP list, like me. They have a photograph of me in the lobby of all these places. But if you are in Los Angeles and just go into the Life exhibition and take the tour, just say, hey, I just came from the wax museum. And what's this? Is this another wax museum or what's up? And they will fucking be excited. They will take you on that tour. It's like an hour and you will see all of the magistry, of L. Ron Hubbard. And at the end, there's this like display that like opens, and there's another wall. It opens. There's another wall. It comes forward, opens. It's another wall of just awards, medals, all of that shit. It is absolutely insane. And I think they just bought the medals somewhere, like from the Salvation Army or, from like, Goodwill or some shit. It's really bad. It's really bad. And then they said that he got all these medals he didn't get.
Good.
True.
Take the entire sweep of the man. And the church itself, the claims it was making has had to back down on. One of the original Dianetics claims is you will no longer need your eyeglasses after 5 hours of Dianetics
I'm a clear, guys. I have progressives now.
auditing. Not true. You routinely now see in magazines from Flag and other places OTs wearing Coke bottle glasses.
Of course.
And look, there are human frailties. People need glasses. No big deal. Unless you're saying you won't need it and we need $1 million from you.
Right.
Probably the most significant thing that I have seen was this past New Year's when Scientology aired its Super Bowl commercial and it showed the new e-meter, the Ultra Mark.
The Ultra Mark 8 e-meter.
8 meter. Scientology, it almost sounded like lawyers wrote the commercial because it said, higher spiritual states are possible.
Right.
That was carefully worded.
Higher spiritual states are possible.
It didn't say, we're going to give them to you. It said, it's possible. And now Scientology has been ground down to the language of the Internal Revenue Service of basically offering intangible spiritual benefits.
Right.
And you can't measure spiritual benefit, guys. That's not something you can staticize. Is that a word? I think so. But you can't make it into a statistic, right? Like you can't measure prayer, right? You can't measure, meditation. I mean, actually, they did. They put a Tibetan monk into an fMRI machine while he was meditating. And it was pretty wild to see what was happening with his brain. But that's a whole other discussion for another time. But you can't measure the power of prayer or the power of Scientological spiritual attainment, right? Because especially, we'll just stick with Scientology, it doesn't exist. There is no physical or mental, well, there's a lot of mental changes, but there's no physical change in the person, even though people will claim it. I told you guys that I fucking stopped wearing glasses for like over 2 years because I had, run a process on myself to get rid of my glasses because it was out PR. It was bad public relations, guys, that I was a last lifetime clear and I had glasses on my face. My glasses that allow me to see, bad.
We don't promise this anymore. And in fact, what I'm exposing on Scientology Money Project are these fake contracts where you hold the church harmless for anything up to and including death.
Right.
You hold them harmless for anything that'll happen. You agree not to sue them. You
Agree not to sue. They didn't do anything wrong, no matter what.
agree to arbitration, which is rigged.
We've already talked about the arbitration, guys. It's a bunch of bullshit.
And you agree that the results that are obtained are completely your responsibility. So Matt, what I discovered in the contract language is this. If I'm the church, I say to you, okay, give me $100,000, $150,000 now. This is what the founder said.
Mm-hmm.
However, whether or not you can attain the results completely on you, Matt Pesh.
Right.
And it's like, wait a minute, if it's all up to me, I'm going to keep my money and go do Buddhism.
Right.
Because
Okay. So if you try to sue them and say, hey, I didn't get any of these results, give me my money or give me this money. They're like, well, it's on you. You're obviously a no gain case. You're an SP. And, that's why it didn't work.
at least it's cheaper and it's something more realistic.
Right.
That is, I can meditate, I can turn inward, I can be introspective. So I think there's a profound shift and the public exposure of what the church can and can't do. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you something.
And guys, this was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, they're having this conversation and thinking this is going to make a huge difference. Scientology is definitely going down soon.
Funny, Flag talks about these L's, and it'll take somebody and make them this like super management person, and their life will take off and skyrocket, and they'll make all this kind of money, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm like, okay, you look at the stats. We were sitting there as, the executives of the FSO, and you pull the stats out for the last 10 years, and they're all downtrending across the board, and like steeply downtrending across the board. And you go, wow, why don't we at least get the captain to do the L's,
Yeah, every person who does the L's became magically successful after that. Why won't the captain do it?
We have our own auditors. Why don't we have one of the auditors take the captain? And if we really believe that this stuff works, how come we're not using it on our executives? And I was like, phew, attacked as enemy line. How can I
Yeah, I mean, if it really works, why aren't all the executives doing them?
be saying that? I mean, I was just asking a real question. I mean, shit, if this stuff is really that good, why don't we use it for our own people?
That's astonishing. Yeah, if it's so good and it makes...
If Scientology is so good, Why aren't Sea Org members getting it?
The able, more able?
Yeah, I mean,
Let's do it to our own executive staff so we boom the staff.
yeah, exactly.
Now, you said that the long-term trend at Flag is downtrending?
Yeah, I mean, 2002, you go back to the late 80s, and I'm telling you, you lay those stats out, there's about 28 major stats for the Flag Service Organization, and you will see they're not just emergency trending, like a little bit down, they're danger trending.
That means, okay, so emergency means that your stat went down just like a little bit. It's a tiny dip. Danger is like that steep part of the roller coaster when you're first on it before you go through the first thing. Yeah. You in danger, girl.
Really?
Yes,
Danger trending.
yes.
So, and yet David Miscavige represents it as straight up in vertical expansion.
Yeah, he just makes the shit up out of his butt. I mean, it has nothing to do with nothing. And then these little graphs he shows, it doesn't show what he's comparing to what time period. It's nothing. It's just, and then, they got booms and bangs in the background, with music and people are clapping. And
Power Lies, this is correct. David Mayo created the L's for Elron, okay, to help him in the end of life. Yeah. Oops, wrong page.
what the hell are you clapping about? You don't even know what you're talking about.
I went to the 2007 New Year's Eve event for the church. That's the last public event I went to. And they invited me. I attended. I went in a nice suit, spent some money there on some books, whatever the release was. But what I noticed, and what others have pointed out, is that those stats David Miscavige represents are not really statistics. What they are icons.
Right.
They're graphics.
Right.
They are like a representation of what a statistic looks like. They're not an actual statistic.
Right.
And then they flash by so fast at a live event with music that the old business saying, if you can't baffle them with brilliance, buffalo them with bullshit.
Right.
Yeah, they're not real statistics, and they're like this big part of the graph. It's like literally 3 weeks to show this tremendous trend. And if you looked at the whole thing, you would see that that was a tiny little uptick in a made up thing after like totally crashing down to basically zero.
That came to mind for me as a corporate guy. Now, come on. This isn't even trying. It's not even trying, Mr. Miscavige.
Right.
This is just pure nonsense. And I don't say that lightly, Matt. This is not honest to do with your parishioners.
Right.
It's not honest to engage in a dog and pony show.
But it's more than dishonesty, Jeff. This is control. This is manipulation. It is hypnotism. It is brainwashing. It's not just like, oh, they're liars. Like they're not just Joe Olstein. Okay. This is way bigger than that.
With music that doesn't tell the truth. And I think that's the core problem with the church is it's dishonest with itself.
Right.
And its leader is dishonest.
Exactly.
No, they're absolutely 100% exactly what they're created to be. A fucking con that is a smoke and mirrors show that gets as much money for the one man at the top and fuck everybody else.
I mean, and I'll tell you what, because FSO makes over half the money international and half the delivery, whatever is happening with the statistics of the FSO is what's happening with the statistics of Scientology International. It's a known fact. If the money is down in the FSO, it's down internationally. If the book sales are up at Flag, they're up internationally because...
Now what? I have privatized every single stream that I did with ManButt. And so you can probably find it on ManButt's channel or Surge's channel, but it's not on my channel because it's set to private now. So all of the streams that involve ManButt are on private. So there you go. And that affected me a lot, guys, because I was already over 2 million views before August. And so, yeah, but I had to privatize all those. When you put a video on private, just for edification, it erases those views from your channel. It also erases the revenue from that, because people watch your stuff all the time. They're watching different things from your channel. So when you put a video on private, it takes that out of your whole folder, right? And yeah. So I lost a couple 100,000 views, I think, 250,000 something. And also, yeah, just a lot of stuff. So that's fine. I got it all back. We're back over 2 million now. So there you go. You just keep moving forward. All right, let's get this going here.
It makes such a major part of the overall statistic, it can't help but follow what Flag's doing. So if the FSO is downtrending over 10 years in a danger, internationally, it's downtrending in a danger.
So as Rome goes, there goes the empire.
Exactly.
And the empire of Scientology appears to be crumbling in front of our eyes.
Yeah, and you can see it. You're at Flag,
10 years ago, Matt and Jeff riffing here decided that Scientology's empire was crumbling. It's still here. They're still opening new buildings. David Miscavige is still dodging fucking subpoenas.
You know, you can see it. Like I said, there would be 150 people outside the waiting area 25 years ago, and now you're going to see 3, 2, 1, nobody in there because it's shrunk that much.
And we know that Scientology has shrunk even more since this conversation because we see, outside these organizations when people are protesting every day, the nobody that's there.
Now, shifting gears, you mentioned that the Free Winds is a money loser.
Right.
Why do they keep a money loser operating?
Because if you were to shut down the ship, it would make it so you could see as a Scientologist real clearly that Scientology was in trouble. And it was.
Yeah, they shut down the ship and nobody's doing OT8. That's it. Scientologists would riot.
It was getting smaller. It would be out PR.
So David Miscavige can't afford to shut down the Free Winds.
Exactly.
What's it like to be on the Free Winds? What's that experience for you as a flag executive?
I mean, it's a nice enough ship. It's got nice staff, but you can see real clearly that the anxiety of trying to get people on that boat and keep them there, to try to make money enough so that they can, pretend like they can at least contributing to the amount of money it takes to run that ship. There's a lot of anxiety on, like you see in other organizations, but it seems to be even more dramatic, maybe because it's such close quarters of the need to get public, the need to get money.
Yeah, because if they don't get money, they don't have fuel for the ship to go to their next location. They can't go ashore when they've reached a destination and buy supplies like toilet paper, okay? Like food, right? It's insane.
Matt, so this is the Free Winds. Is it called the Flagship Service Organization, FSSO?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like Flag's big sister or something.
And on the flagship, they deliver the highest level new OT8.
Right.
But to your point, public's hiding their hotel rooms at Flag so they don't get regged.
Right.
Does the basic same thing happen on the ship? If you're trapped on the ship for a week, you're going to get regged all the time?
Yeah, you're going to get regged all the time.
Yes.
Yeah,
Except for you don't have anywhere else to go because you're on the ship. So even if you're hiding in your room, they go and find you.
You got to figure that ship got so desperate at one time that it was selling OT9 and OT10 without having any idea what that would even be.
Yes, they started selling OT9 and 10, something that does not exist and they cannot deliver.
Like, is that something that would take 2 weeks? Is that something that would take 20 years? They had because there is no such thing as OT9 and 10.
No, you can't use oars to get. Here's another true story time, guys. Don Jason, who was an executive at the Flag Service Org when I was on training there, got in trouble. And you can look at the Tampa Bay Times interview to reference this. But he had to escape the ship by ziplining off of one of the mooring lines, okay, onto the deck below so that he could get off the ship because they were holding him hostage on there. He was in a foreign country. He did not have his passport. That's how he escaped off the ship. Okay? That's how they hold people there. But they have to dock sometimes. So they can't just stay, adrift for the whole time. No,
they obviously had no concept of what it could be yet. They were so desperate to try to get money that they actually sold millions and millions and millions of dollars worth of OT9 and 10. Well, these people who had done OT8, when they were told they had to go back on OT7, meant they had to go back to Flag and do services. And what we did at Flag, and what I did as a trend sec, we took paper transfer of that credit from the Free Winds over to Flag and delivered service against money that was given to the Free Winds years earlier.
So let's get this scam and money laundering correct. So I have done OT8. I'm told by the ship, which will be the only place to receive these things, that I can pre-buy OT9 and 10 prior to their release. Then, magically, the case supervisor at Flag on the shore there in Clearwater tells me, uh-oh, hot dog, you got to go do OT7 again. So then Flag would take the money from the ship, transfer it into their coffers so that that person would then be on a paid redo of OT7. Because if something's wrong and you have to do it again, you have to pay for it every time you do it.
You know what I'm saying? So basically we were given free service.
Oh, it sounds like a shell game
It
almost.
was a shell game. I mean, we had to cover their ass, basically, because these public were all upset that they were sold, that they had given, $100,000 for OT9 and 10, which never materialized, and now they're being told they never really finished OT7.
So they gave $100,000 for OT9 and 10, and now they're told, P.S., we just found out you never really finished OT7. You have more body thetans.
And they have to go back and do it, and they're like, well, shit, you guys already have my money on the Free Winds, what's the deal? So, you got to keep them quiet. These are the key people in the Scientology. So you say, I'll tell you what, the 100,000 that you used to have on the free ones, you now have it on your flag service organization account.
Yeah. These are the top whales, the ones that donate the millions and millions and millions of dollars to the IAS.
So go do what you need to do.
Oh, that's just unbelievable story, but true in the surreal world of Scientology, where down is up and up is down, black is white, etc. When you look at the overall,
what happened? Something happened there.
flag experience, what do you think they're down to income wise? What's your ballpark feeling per month
I don't know.
these days?
Are you guys hearing the recording? Because it's not showing up that it's going, but I'll just let it keep going.
No idea, really. I've been out of there for almost 10 years. I have no idea what it is, but I can guess that whatever it is, the individuals on average are paying a lot more than they used to. What happens is like less fish in the bowl, so you need only to try to keep the bigger fish in there and get them, to give up more. So
Less fish in the bowl, so you got to keep the bigger fish in there, so they keep giving. Are you getting pizza? Okay, get some pizza, honey. It's my thespian child who's performing artiste. I love you. I'm going to go see them again tonight.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Matt, it's great having you on the show. You are a wealth of information.
It's just great having you here. It's great having you here. All right, I think this is just good nights, but let's see.
I'll tell you one other thing. We're kind of talking
please.
about. We're talking about Scientology claims to be the experts on the human mind, and we should get rid of psychiatry and obliterate them, and blah 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 blah. But the truth is, as soon as a staff member or a public person has a psychotic break, which is fairly often, there's money set aside to get that person out of there immediately.
This was just an aside at the end. This was just something he saved for this little nugget for the very end of this interview. I want to replay that. Oh, 1 second, and then I'm going to replay that. Apparently, I'm being told there's a gigantic bug outside of the garage that I will need to handle later. Toby, go on. Elliot, help him out. There we go. Good boy. Okay. So let's replay that little tiny segment here. Let's just go back.
To give up more. So.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Matt, it's great having you on the show. You are a wealth of information.
I'll tell you one other thing. We're kind of talking
please.
We're talking about. Scientology claims to be the experts on the human mind, and we should get rid of psychiatry and obliterate them, and blah 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 blah. But the truth is, as soon as a staff member or a public person has a psychotic break, which is fairly often.
As soon as a staff member or a public person has a psychotic break, which is fairly often, not just once in a blue moon, guys, fairly often.
There's money set aside to get that person out of there immediately.
There's money set aside to get that person out of there immediately.
And these people are just usually dropped on the doorstep, literally dropped on the doorstep of some relative or friend who's not even a Scientologist.
They are dropped on the doorstep of a relative or a friend who is not a Scientologist.
And left there. And that's like, whew, we got that.
Let me get
just literally, no return to sender, no takebacks.
straight. If you go type 3, have a
Type 3 is having a psychotic break.
psychotic break at flag, you're off the base in minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they might have to, if you're screaming, yelling and stuff like that, they might take a little bit of time to get it to the point where you can be stuck on an airplane or.
Yeah, they might have to calm you down to get you on an airplane or whatever.
Some kind of public transport without, causing a whole kerfluffle. You just,
You can't cause a kerfluffle when they are getting you off the base.
still think that there's a Martian in your wallet or something like that. And
yeah, there's body thetans in your wallet.
they'll get some guy to try to, drug you up a bit and get somebody to escort you on the public transport to get you away from flag.
Yeah, they will send a singular person to be your 24-hour watch to make sure you make it to your destination and off of the base. True story time, guys. That should just be the name of my show, True Story Time. Okay, so when I had my unaliving attempt at the big blue buildings, okay, on the second floor of Lebanon Hall, the first things that were done when that occurred was to call the RPFIC, to call, he wasn't in the building at the time, he wasn't on the floor, to call the RPFIC, to call OSA, and to call the medical liaison officer, Quinn Toffer. Okay. They kept me in a room away from everyone else while they interrogated me about what had happened and why I decided to do that. Then, once it was determined that I was a risk because I was having a freak out about my physical condition after having ingested bleach, they decided I have to get off the base immediately without anyone else in the RPF knowing about it. So they kept all the other RPFers away so that I could grab the few shirts and underwear that I had in my possession and get into the car with Quinn Toffer, who took me to the Chevron station on Vermont and Los Feliz, and then got out of the car to call Dr. Megan Shields, who is a Scientologist doctor, who was the opposite direction from where we went. She was down Fountain, and ask her what to do. She refused to see me, broke her Hippocratic oath, and told Quinn to take me to Olive View Medical Center, where I was seen by an emergency room doctor and discharged within a matter of hours. And then they had no idea what to do with me. Quinn couldn't bring me back to the base. So he literally drove around with me in the car. We were hungry, both of us. So he's like, well, let's go to In-N-Out. We went to In-N-Out. At that point, a car with 3 other female Sea Org members showed up at the In-N-Out to meet us, okay, in Burbank, because I had 3 people who were going to be watching me 24 hours a day. Zarin, her twin Callie, and my twin Kashenka. Kashenka was pissed. She was screaming at me, just let me have it. So these 3 ladies and Quinn and I are all in this car now, okay? And they are taking me to the Extended Stay America in Burbank, which is right across from the Burbank airport. Who was it? It was, now I can't remember his name. Anyway, the security chief at the time was checking me in his full security uniform, guys. So he looks like a rent-a-cop checking me in, and he has to check. Now they totally ran a scam on the Extended Stay America because they got me a room, not 4 people a room. So these ladies had to wait outside while I got checked in with the security chief. He put me in the room and he's like, don't move, while he went and got the other 3 ladies. I could have run. I didn't. I tried to watch Saturday Night Live. They, told me they couldn't watch TV. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm watching TV. And then I realized they were going to get in trouble, so I didn't. Zarin had to watch me take a bath because I needed to shave. And so I couldn't be left unattended with sharp objects. So she literally watched me be nude in a bathtub, while shaving. I had to get some more very important auditing to get rid of the evil purpose that caused me to try and, unalive myself. And then they still didn't know where I was going. So the security guy came back and picked me up a couple of days later and drove me around, and then eventually got the call on the radio that OSA was ready to see me. Took me up to the 6th or 7th floor, I can't remember, of the building where the life exhibition is. And I was put in a room with a bunch of people and a camera pointed at me, and I had to sign this waiver saying I would never, ever say anything bad about Scientology, ever, ever, ever. Total bunch of bullshit. And then we went and got the remainder of my stuff that hadn't been stolen while I was on the RPF out of storage, put it in the trunk of the patrol car, and he drove me to my parents' house in Eagle Rock. And just literally took the boxes out of the trunk of his car and was like, bye. Bye. And just left. Left me there with my stepdad, who was loving and fed me delicious food. And yeah. But as soon as you become a kerfluffle, as Matt put it, you learn very quickly that you are gone, erased. And I learned from my friends that remained on the RPF that they had no idea what happened to me. They didn't speak of it. Now, a few people knew because they were in the ethics office. And so they saw in my folder what had happened. But they weren't supposed to talk about me. Nora's a no-no. She's a no-no. Don't discuss. Do not engage. All right, let's finish this up. But this is true of any organization. They have this slush fund specifically set aside to handle you and get you the fuck out of there. That's how my hotel room was paid for. That's how my burger was paid for. That's how all that stuff. Okay. Luckily for them, I was a cheap date.
To drop you off literally on somebody's doorstep so that it's somebody else's problem. So, I mean, who's going to take care of all the crazy people in the world if you get rid of psychiatry? I mean, they're not experts. They're not perfect.
Well, first of all, people who have mental health problems are not crazy. That is a Scientology determination. But yeah, it's a good thing there are therapists and actually trained people in the field of mental health now.
But at least these people are trying. Scientology won't touch that stuff. So what are they talking about?
No, and you said, is it known in the upper strata of Flag that they use drugs to cool people out who have psychotic breaks?
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
Yes. As we know from L. Ron Hubbard's autopsy report, he had Visceral in his system, which is an antipsychotic. So yeah, they will literally use, those drugs when they need someone to be calm and quiet because they are too much. Then they're okay with psych drugs because you're already never coming back to Scientology anyway.
No, I mean, a lot of staff, they don't really know what the hell's going on, period. And they've never dealt with...
No, unless you are in security or an upper level executive, you will not know these things. Because, or you experienced it yourself, like I did, you will not know the lengths that they go to keep people who are having a severe mental break quiet.
A psychotic break or whatever. But people who've been around for a while, yeah, they know that.
Is there like a medicine cabinet at Flag where the drugs are hidden to, give people something if they flip out?
I don't know if it's kept on a base or whether they just use different Scientology.
No, they use Scientology doctors to administer that because you can't just walk into a Walgreens and get that shit.
Medical people in the field around Flag that they can get the drugs from or whatever, whatever way they do it, they get it. And these people are put on sedatives and whatever to calm them down enough and so they can be exported out without, screaming.
And they give these people these sedatives and they don't tell them that it's a sedative. They tell them it's vitamins. Vitamins.
Yeah, because a psychotic would be out PR.
Right.
And Scientology doesn't want some crazy person on the base. And they certainly do not want to repeat of Lisa McPherson.
Right.
No, you can never have a Lisa McPherson happen ever again. Ever, ever, ever. Ever.
Well, Matt, we're at our hour. I'd like to keep the show going, but I want to have you back on the show and change subjects. Right. Because I want to get into specifics of some other things, related to other topics. I appreciate the overview of Flag Service Organization, the Regin process, hard sales. It really confirms what so many people have said. And I think the power of radio is that you actually get to hear the real people who were there and doing it.
It's the power of radio.
And people love the details of how Scientology actually works on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So thank you so much for being on the show. We'll have you back soon. We do.
This is when people were doing podcasting, kids. And it wasn't like YouTube Live like we're doing now. It's 10 years ago.
Fine. Your better half, Amy Scoville, on the show.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to get her on. And anytime you want
Yeah, let's have Amy on.
to talk about something, just let me know what the subject is, and we'll do it.
Oh, I've got you on my speed dial.
Okay.
Okay. For Surviving Scientology Radio, this is your...
All right. This is your radio host. Surviving Scientology Radio with Jeff Augustine. Tune in for more adventures. Hi, my love. Yeah, it got put on the other side somehow. I don't know what happened. All right, let's get to all these chit chats. You guys sent me some money. Thank you. Selma, thank you for these £2. Appreciate. Just wanted to say I love you. I love you back. Matrix Tech Solutions, thank you for the super sticker. Hands doing the sign of horns with sparkles all around, like this, or like that, like we're doing like hard rock horns. I like it. Detroit Stacy Never End. That's cray cray. Thank you for all this money. I hope this helps out. Hopefully everyone will match me. Love you, Nora. Well, thank you. That puts me $50 closer to that $6,000 to get my kid to Greece. Thank you. Thank you, Roxanne, about my mods giving me money. What's going on here? Shiba dog. I love Shiba dogs. They're so cute. They're adorbs. Kels Bells, thank you for this. Another Shiba dog. Is this like the thing you can? There's just so many Shiba dogs and sloths. Thank you, Stacy. I like you too. I like you too. And the end of musing. Thank you. Is the A? Does that stand for Australia? I guess whatever. A pair character jumping up and down saying #1 fan. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's get to Barry Snyder had a comment here earlier I wanted to put up. These Scientology pressure sales tactics are like that of the timeshare scams in the 80s and 90s. Ones in the Poconos near us would mail out promises of free TVs, everything you had, right? Part 2, to fight your way out of that 1-hour presentation, resisting all sorts of tactics and peer pressure, and cheering by families that succumb in the same room was not for the faint of heart. That is the same thing they do now for like the IAS regging. It's just all people, who's going to be next to put their name on the board for $20,000 like Joe and Cecilia? You know, like it's just all group pressure. It's gross. It's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely. Let's go over these comments here. Yeah. The actual victims who shared their stories, they are who to thank. Correct. Mike Render doesn't get credit for everything. He just doesn't. And he's also not the reason for all the bad stuff either. I know that. A lot of people out there seem to think somehow that I think Mike Render's the only person who ever did anything bad inside of Scientology. I know that that is not a fact. I know that's not facts. However, Mike is an unindicted co-conspirator, just like Matt Pesh, for crimes inside Scientology. Due to his position, due to the power that he wielded for 25 years. That is also a fact. Okay. My hair looks cute today. Thank you. Oh no, Tim. Congratulations on 2 million views. You should have 2 million subscribers. Tim, from your mouth to YouTube's algorithm. I would love that. I would love that. Trisha, it's never not jarring to hear how cruel they are to their own members. They are there to do nothing but hustle and steal everything from them, and it's heartbreaking. This is very true. This is very true. If Matt knew all this and he was in the middle of it, how in the hell did he think this was a religion? Yeah. Well, he was always at the top, guys. He wasn't the fucking peon guy getting shit on every week. He was the one doing the shitting. A wise woman once told me that rice and beans is not a meal, Nora. Yes, that is very true. Rice and beans is not a meal. Unless you're getting it at a Cuban restaurant and you also get Platinos, then it's fucking bomb. Okay, moving on. Being in sales for over half my life, I obviously read that book on high pressure sales techniques. Yes, you did. I hated everything in the book. And I did low, no pressure sales and made lots of money. Yeah, you don't have to, guys, look at the furniture. Look at these suitcases under these eyes here. I have to get more sleep. Or I need that magic eye cream that you just put on and it sucks them away. I know it's a sign. My doctor said that I have, what did she call them? Blackout eyes, not blackout eyes. It looks like you got a black eye. I did not. But that's due to like allergies and stuff, which is why I'm seeing so many doctors trying to figure out what is wrong with my body. Yeah. Reconnecting in the house. I love you. The extent of the MLM strategies you covered today is still hugely shocking. The scam, so deliberate, and they preach about ethics. The internal split must be massive. Yeah. Trying to bend your mind into making that make sense. That's why so many people go psychotic. They have a mental break because they can't keep doing it. They can't keep telling the lies. The more I hear Matt talk, the more he sounds like he didn't care about anything or anything at all. Yeah. Oh, we did that one already, Barry. Thank you for being here. Yes, this discussion brings into the foray how little Scientology thinks of its members. Correct. They are bags of money. It's worse than just being raw meat. You're a bag of money. The Celestial Commodore in the house. Thank you for being here. Not only are the protests causing problems for the org to make money, but they aren't able to pay for their people to go to flag. Correct. Correct. Just like we got the test center shut down and they weren't able to bring in that raw meat from the streets, raw meat on the street. You know, they're not able to keep this little circular money jar going. So that's why the protests are the singularly most important thing. Lisa McPherson didn't shut down Scientology. The mummification of a woman in one of their hotel rooms due to negligence, lack of nutrition, kidnapping, did not shut down Scientology, guys. That's why all of these deaths, if you're a decent prosecutor out there, you got to start bringing these cases forth. There are deaths that abound from Scientology, and they need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Because none of it is as it seems. That cortisol panic rush is what leads to our PTSI and burnout. Yes. Apparently everything is cortisol. The European outer org trainees with no deodorant. Yeah. Yeah. They also, like, the ladies had a lot of armpit hair and stuff. Like, I mean, you know, I shouldn't shame people for putting armpit hair, but like, I don't like it. It just gathers your sweat and your fucking must and shit. Okay. I'm never in, but I do use a vinegar mixture to clean. That's okay. It's natural. It's all good. It actually cleans shit. You could use vodka too. What brainwashing, in other words aren't you, what? You aren't anything at all unless you're a good Scientologist. The cult really breaks your spirit. Shame. Yes. Correct. Correct. Barry, again, I remember Lara FM and Aaron saying they each paid their freeloader debts in order to either get back in good standing and or be allowed to stay in contact with their Scientology family and friends. Correct. You are told you cannot, you're not in good standing if you're a freeloader. So your friends, if they're doing Scientology, they will be made to stop talking to you because you're a freeloader and you're not in good standing. I don't know if you get into trouble, but I would love, Nora, if you could break down Jeff and Karen. These are two characters, I tell you. I'm not going to get into Jeff and Karen. That's not my, I don't really have anything to say about them. You know, it just, yeah. I never got any services or anything from them. I don't have anything bad to say about them. You know, my experience with them has been completely different. But yeah. Moment of silence for all the names of people lost on that Stony Baloney mentioned in chat. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Stacy. Yeah. Also other Stacy. They should be charged with that. Yes. I don't know if that's legal, but I agree. Goodbye. I love you. All right. Let's see these questions here. What happened to John Atack? He left the board. They did not make a public statement about it. There is no way I could come up with $50,000. What did people do who had bad credit and no money? First of all, they would get you the credit. Okay. Secondly, if you really have no money, if you're really poor, they just slowly start ghosting you and you're gross and they don't even let you really finish the things that you already paid for. You don't really give them, like, they're out exchange now, out exchange. Or they encourage you to become an FSM, field staff member, so you can make that sweet, sweet cheddar getting people in. Yeah. If Scientology has convinced someone to take out credit, if they escape, can they fight with the credit card companies to say they were coerced into those charges? I would say consult a lawyer, but that sounds like a good defense to me. I'd love to see some of those cases go before a judge and have Scientology admitted as evidence in those cases. Hey, let's put the call out. If you are an ex-Scientologist out there and you were coerced into or had someone take out credit in your name, stealing your identity, and you are now saddled with credit card, loan, mortgage debt, please file a case and let's get all the Scientology on the record. Okay? Let's do it. Are you going to end up in this meat grinder if you are financially not able to participate? Not really. They don't care. You have to have money. Are SEERG members eligible to receive the percentage on sales or FSMs are public, but registrars can receive that, and IAS registrars especially. Yeah. But it goes back and forth. Sometimes there was a percentage and sometimes there wasn't for SEERG members. Do you have to give each of these pariahs money or can you say no? Like let's say the first reg you came across was the IAS reg and you donated 20 grand to the IAS. You could tell the other guys, like, I already gave the IAS 20 grand. I don't have it, and they could go through their whole rigmarole and try to get it from you. But ultimately, they have to keep checking you off the box. Hi, sweetheart. Are you leaving? Okay. Break a leg. You're getting some refreshment. Okay. I love you. I'll see you soon. Yeah. Let's see here. Gunna Fawcett says, if it's $50 a week, how do they calculate different countries? They give them the equivalent of whatever 50 US dollars is, or they give them 50 of that currency, right? So it's always just 50. A person in Europe isn't getting paid the euro equivalent of $50. They're getting 50 euros per week. People in England are getting paid 50 pounds per week, right? Whatever, like the monetary value that's similar to a dollar in terms of where that, falls in the thing, then that's how they would do it. Just 50 of the singular unit that you can be given. That's not a fraction of the singular unit, like pennies here. Question, Pippi, why didn't they give some to the Mills lady? Yeah. Good question. Good question. Because they thought they could handle her. Yeah. All righty, my friends. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I sincerely appreciate you. We're going to do some more on this. We're going to mix it up and do some more things, but it's Thursday night. It's opening night for my kiddo. I got to go see some magic on the stage in another live performance. And I'll be going to closing night as well on Sunday, because that's what you do when you are a theater mom. You go to the parent preview, you go to opening night, you go to closing night. And apparently I have to come up with $6 grand for this kid to go to Greece, which, yeah, we'll see. But yes, Nearman, I'm going to pull this up as the last one here. Being told that you're not actually clear while you're on OT7 would drive anyone crazy. Yes. Because you found out about Xenu, you audited out your drugs on the whole track, and now you're in the middle of auditing out these body thetans. And now they told you, just kidding, you didn't even make level 1, which is the clear. All right, guys, I love you so much. Be kind to yourselves and, be kind to each other. And also, I will see you all on the flippity dippity. Thank you so much to the mods, to the members, and everybody who tuned in today. Click that link. Find me everywhere. We'll chat. It's fun. Or send me some money. I need it.